Here.
Councilmember Palfini.
Here.
Councilmember Virasan. Present. Councilmember Wedstein.
Present.
Mayor Parham.
Present. All right, next is our acceptance of agenda and urgency items. Have any changes requested by council on the agenda today?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as written.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll move on to non-agenda public comment. This is a time for anybody in the audience that wants to get up and speak on anything that's not on the agenda. Please come forward and do so now.
It's hard to hear.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Awesome. So this is the non-agenda public comment section. If there's anything that's not on the agenda, now is the time to come forward to speak. Please step up to the podium up front here.
So what I have to comment on is on the agenda, so we're going to wait for that?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Seeing as we have no one for non-agenda public comment, we'll move on to council member announcements, meeting reports, and comments. And we'll start with Councilmember Virasan.
Went to the Lola meeting last night. It was really great. Edna did a great job hosting the Lola meeting last night. Well done. They did a really good job, you know, at the park. I mean, it's a cute, beautiful little town, really. And everyone should come and see Elkhorn Valley tonight. Starts tonight. So that's all I have. Thank you for that.
All right. Councilmember Mazzoni.
Nothing tonight. Maybe next month after this, whatever we're going to do here tonight, but tonight, nothing.
All right. Councilmember Wedstein.
I don't have much as far as business meetings wise. I've been engaged in trial most of the month, but I would like to say, I think I'm allowed to say, that I would like to thank our partnership with the Roseburg Fund. We were looking for about $146,000 in order to be able to do some engineering with PACE for potential new fire department. And I believe, unless the chief wants to correct me, it looks like we will be receiving those funds so that we can move forward. So I'd like to thank the partnership that we continue to have. Although they're being very selective in what they will help the city with, I think that $146,000 to a very worthy cause is much appreciated.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem Palfini.
Well, I, along with Pet and our city manager, Dustin Sambaugh, went to Lowell yesterday. The Carnivale, like she said, is happening right now, as we all know. And if somebody out in the audience can help me, we're also having a circus coming to town. Do we have a date on that?
End of August.
End of August, okay. So, for a future meeting.
All right.
That circus is a good time. It's a great circus. There's no animals.
End of August.
All right, I just want to say thank you to the city, the chamber, and all the volunteers that participated in the Main Street and Southwood cleanup here at the end of June, as well as to encourage everyone to attend and have a good time at the Carnivale this weekend. All right, now I'll move on to our presentation. We have Jill Drinkwater, the Regional Business Manager for Pacific Power, is here to give an update on their system strengthening measures.
Hello, thank you for having us here today. I am Jill Drinkwater. I'm the California Regional Business Manager for Pacific Power. So my role is to serve our California service territory, which basically extends from Crescent City to Alturas, Del Norte, Siskiyou County, Modoc County. We do serve down into Shasta County, just a few miles, not too many customers, but Shasta County is also included. My main role is to work with jurisdictions, to work with communities, economic development, our large load business customers. Crystal Geyser is an example. and to assist new development, large loads as they come on to help them through the process. I have some colleagues with me here tonight. I want to just have them stand up and introduce themselves. If there's opportunity for questions, they may help me in areas that I don't have expertise.
So, hi, I'm Dave Schober. I'm the principal project manager for Pacific Power for the fire hydrant projects that go on in Northern California and Southern California. Thanks for having us. I'm Todd Andrus. I am regional business manager up in Klamath Falls, serves Klamath and Lake counties. About 4 years ago, I was serving down here.
Corey Williams, project manager. I help serve the California and Southern Oregon area.
Thanks, guys. So we're here to share some information, as was stated, on our system hardening and wildfire mitigation efforts in California. I want to really emphasize that as a company, our number one goal has always been to provide our customers with safe and reliable power. The safety of our customers is the sole driver for the critical improvements that are needed to meet the challenges of extreme weather and wildfire. So this presentation tonight is intended to demonstrate the scale and the scope of these improvements and to underscore the fact that these investments in customer safety and system strength come at a significant cost. And these costs will ultimately be reflected in customer rates. Next slide. So this is a map of our California service area. We serve 46,000 customers across 11,000 square miles. That's roughly 4 customers per square mile. So we have a very small number of customers over a very large service territory. And as you're aware, a major part of this service territory is very rugged, hard to access terrain that is also in wildfire risk areas. So providing these services, electric service to these customers, it requires a combination of about 3,100 distribution lines and 730 plus miles of transmission lines. Next slide, please. I skipped one. Here we go. Okay, so this is a map showing our service territory with an overlay of what we call high fire threat areas and high fire threat districts. The high fire threat areas are areas that we've identified with our modeling tools. Those are the purple areas on the map. We overlay this with California, the state, what they determine to be high fire threat districts, which are shown in the green and the orange. So the far right column is the combined. So you can see the total miles, over 1,700 miles of lines fall into the combination of these high fire threat areas. So the key takeaway from this slide is that over 60% of our service territory in California is sitting in these high fire threat areas, and that's about half of our California customers live in these areas. Next slide, please. So we're prioritizing these areas by risk. We're making investments to reduce ignition and improve reliability in the face of extreme weather and wildfire. We're replacing bare wire with covered conductor, and this has 2 benefits. It reduces the risk of ignition in wildfire season, and it improves reliability in winter conditions. We're also installing devices that allow us to sectionalize the system, which essentially allows us to de-energize more quickly, reducing the risk of a spark. It also allows us to identify faults so that we can respond quickly and inspect the lines and make the necessary repairs. You can go to the next slide. So this is an example of the areas that we are targeting. Our entire service area is shown there in the middle. We're planning to replace in 2026 120 miles of bare wire. So if you go around the circle there, you've got Mount Shasta Weed going down into Dunsmuir, Castle Craig. I realize this map's far away for a lot of you folks. Fort Jones and Etna, so we're going counterclockwise. Fort Jones and Etna is the second one there. Moving on to Happy Camp in Sayad Valley, over to Klamath on the Highway 101, and then Crescent City and Smith River. There is a URL there at the bottom if you want to see project-specific information on our website. So we're going to go ahead and scroll through these individual areas. And I just want to point out that the maps that you're going to see, they're indicative of work that's either been completed or is in progress or will be completed. So it's just to give you an idea of the areas that we're covering, but not everything on these maps that you're going to see has necessarily been completed yet. So we can go forward to the next slide. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these individual slides. I think what I want to point out is you can see the line miles, you can see the number of poles that have been replaced, and in the red, you can see that each of these communities has a high risk of wildfire in comparison to other communities in the United States. So you can go to the next slide. We'll talk here for a minute. So Mount Shasta and Weed, it was hard to fit the map on the slide. We've done a lot of work from Mount Shasta to Weed since 2020. We've replaced 195 miles of bare line with covered conductor. We've replaced 3,800 poles with non-wood poles. We use either steel or fiberglass, so they're fire resistant. And again, high risk of wildfire in all of these areas. We can move to the next slide. And we can keep going. That's Scott Valley, Happy Camp. I do want to state this Happy Camp was one of the first places that we started a lot of this work, and nearly all of our work there is complete. What isn't complete is mostly pending some permitting. You can go to the next slide. And the next slide. And the next slide. Okay, so we're going to focus a little bit on our accomplishments over the years. So we've got a few here just to show what we've completed. So in 2023, we replaced 95 miles of bare conductor with covered conductor. I think that's probably the highlight on that slide. We did upgrade reclosers, relays, and circuit breakers. That goes back to that enhanced protection and control, being able to identify where faults are, being able to sectionalize certain circuits or areas so that we can restore power more quickly once we determine it to be safe. The 4,000 plus non-expulsion fuses, I'm just going to state the obvious. Non-expulsion is obviously better than expulsion. So that's just an improvement. We can go to the next slide. 2024, I think the highlight on this slide is the vegetation management work. Over 7,100 incremental trees pruned or removed. And then close to 72,000 different inspections of our facilities for safety and necessary upgrades. And we can move to the next slide. So 2025, just last year, we replaced 124 miles of covered conductor. One of the key items here is we stood up what's called our Wildfire Intelligence Center. It's a standalone operation based in Medford. It's 24/7 monitoring of wildfire ignitions across our entire service territory. To date, this year, we've monitored over 1,400 wildfire ignitions. The staff there taps into publicly available AI cameras that can detect these wildfire ignitions. So we're just really trying to get out ahead of what's happening out in the field. We also have a team of meteorologists that are on staff. I believe we have 7, and they're 24/7, and they're looking at modeling the weather as it's coming to us so we can predict ahead of time if we're going to have a wildfire event. We also created what we call the Fire and Emergency Response Managers, or the FERMs. Love acronyms. These folks we can deploy, or we do deploy them actually on the ground to active wildfires so that they can work actively with emergency response. Most of the staff is former CAL FIRE, so they have boots on the ground knowledge of what's happening. They have relationships with emergency services and first responders, and they are located throughout our service territory. We also have a number of weather stations located throughout our service territory, 122 in California. And we can go to the next slide. which is the end. I promise to be brief. We're welcome to answer questions, or, we're happy to answer questions if you have any. I did leave some cards with Sandy. We've come a long way in a short amount of time, but 11,000 miles we've got a long way to go. We really believe that the investments that we're making are prudent and they're critical to the safety of our customers and our communities. And I mentioned at the beginning that these investments do come at a significant cost to our ratepayers. We don't know what these future rates are going to be, only that they will be reflective of the improvements that we've made. And that's all I have.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
You just said that the ratepayer is going to bear a brunt of this infrastructure. How about the investors? Are they taking a brunt on part of that infrastructure as well? Number one. Number two, you're mentioning all this new, I call it you're catching up, and I get it. You can't always stay ahead, but how much of what we're doing is replacing old infrastructure with new infrastructure, because there's been quite a lag in that replacement? That's just my feeling. Nobody's come around replacing poles for years. And now all of a sudden there's this mad rush, and I get it. But again, as a ratepayer, I do have a little bit of a squabble with that. When you showed your map, it would also be nice if you added the roadways. Because I looked at that map and I'm going, I don't even know where you are. And then we got more into it. Then I could figure everything out, but I think a normal person is going to look at a map and look at common points, so we know actually where you're talking about and how we're right in the middle of it all.
Sure.
With all these improvements also, I didn't see a great improvement in the fire risk. It seems like we were sitting at 93%, and where are we going to be after all of these improvements?
That's a great question. I don't know if I should start with the first question first or the last question first.
Any way you want to do it.
I think the data still has to prove itself. So we only have a data set that's 5.5 years old. I think we can say that, from 2020 to 2025, the wildfires that we've experienced in our territory, that we had a role in, it's significantly decreased. I think that going back to but the data has to, it's still to prove itself. And the percentages that came from a U.S. Forest Service tool on the internet. So when they update their data in comparison to when our data is available, that could be, statistics they can be tricky, but that's where those numbers came from, just so you know. If you want to, you can look it up. It's Community Fire Risk. It's a Forest Service website, or I'd be happy to send you the link. Back to your first question, yes, we are an investor-owned utility. So it's a tricky line to walk. We answer to our investors and we answer to our customers, and we have to walk that line. So as a company, in order to be financially stable and to be able to deliver safe and reliable power, we have to be financially stable. And that's just where it puts us. That's just the name of the game. Second question you asked, catching up. The systems, we've been here for 100 years. And as a practice, we replace and upgrade as needed when equipment fails, when we identify equipment that is at risk or isn't performing. We're always doing maintenance. We're still doing maintenance in addition to the wildfire hardening that we're doing. We have crews every day that are out doing inspections. So I think the main thing, and I think we all know this, and you can call it whatever you want to call it, but the climate challenges that we're facing today are not the same challenges we were facing even 20 years ago, 50 years ago. So the extreme weather events, the wildfire events this is new. We are in new territory, and it's very dangerous territory, and we're responding as quickly as we can.
If I might add one thing, just from a project management standpoint. Sure.
Otherwise, we can't catch you.
Sorry. So just wanted to point out one thing. So we took a lot of information from like a lot of different utilities to basically build our plan, best management practices. So this isn't something we just invented. This was something that we took from a lot of other utilities to kind of figure out what was the best for our communities and our service territories. So just bold comments.
So I have a question. It was mentioned several times in your presentation as well as in your slides of the power poles that are being replacing the wooden poles with steel or fiberglass. My observation here in our community is that all of the wooden poles are still in place. Basically, there was metal or fiberglass poles installed on private property and the easements next to them. The tops that had your transformers were cut off and the remaining poles are still on the ground. So my question is when are those going to be removed to complete that part of the project?
Dave or Corey, can I get you to answer that?
Yeah, great question. Not my first rodeo answering it. So what happens is these projects are like 2 to 4 miles of rebuild. So it takes between 3 and 5 months to complete. So they're not small projects by any means. Once the job is completed, it goes through a job closing process. And at that point, basically our joint use department is notified that they need to notify the other joint users on the poles. So that's why we cut it right above comms. So then it's like a dance basically. So we have an idea of Charter or Spectrum as the top person that needs to transfer first. So they have usually 90 days to go do their transfer. And then AT&T's underneath them, so then they have 90 days. So the short and sweet of it is, first, it takes a few months for us to even get the project completed so that we can then start the closing process. But then it takes quite a while for those other joint users to then transfer to the new pole. Then it goes on, basically, they notify us, the last one, that they have now all transferred. And then we basically batch that up to have a civil contractor go pull the old pole.
So do we have a timeline when the rest of the people are going to migrate so those poles can come out?
So I'm working on a process to try to expedite where we don't have to wait until the project's completed. That like on a monthly basis or even weekly, we can notify those joint users to start that joint use transfer process. But that's in the works. But to answer your question, it could be between 6 months and a year from the time that we actually complete the project that a transfer could happen. There's obviously other things that take into account for that. So, we have to schedule to have a contractor go do audits on all of the locations that we want them to go pull and make sure that they can be pulled. Is it in the sidewalk where we have to break the panel and then re-pour the panel? So there's a lot of logistical things that go into that, but a year is about average.
Okay, the reason I ask is some of those poles have been in place for a couple of years now.
3.
Is it possible that you could send the information to our city manager to disseminate amongst the staff and council those timelines when you have the data? I know you're on the spot, you don't
Yeah.
have a laptop in front of you.
Yeah.
But it's something that, my family and my neighbors ask all the time is, are these going to be addressed and how long will they be here?
Right.
So we'd like to be able to inform the rest of our community on that. My other question has to do with, in this point, you're doing fire mitigation and upgrading infrastructure. We recently had a business who's building in South Weed that was unable to complete their project at the scope that they were approved for because there wasn't enough infrastructure for them to do so. One of the big pushes that this council has had in the last 4 years is we're trying to set the table to bring investors into our community to provide jobs and build homes. And if we have 1 or 2 companies who are approved in building that their feedback is they don't have adequate power, then that leaves me concerned as far as building homes or other businesses and what we have planned to address that so that they can hook into the system and have adequate power.
So great question. So part of the infrastructure changes that we're doing is that we're increasing the conductor size.
Okay.
So we have basically 3 different conductor sizes that we're using depending on the loading in the area. But we have basically a 10-year plan, and we do load studies for every community, trying to figure out kind of what it looks like, what we know about as far as future customer load growth. And we basically adapted that into our process for how we construct these projects.
So would it be prudent of our city manager and staff to reach out to you for potential projects if we have a developer that wants to build homes? Or, obviously, like Lincoln Heights, we did the underground utility district there. There's enough power for the homes to rebuild.
Yeah.
But we have in the past had developers interested in building homes in South Weed. We have a large amount of interest in the community with tiny homes being built, as well as we're hoping to expand our business footprint in South Weed and making sure that, there's communication between the city and Pacific Power before those projects are fully approved, so those customers know what to anticipate, what they're going to need for infrastructure to complete their projects.
Yeah, and I think, it's all about collaborative efforts and communication, right? So we only can use the information that we have in front of us unless somebody comes to the table and says, hey, by the way, this subdivision's possibly looking to come in, so can you plan for that? So I'd say working with the regional business managers is probably the best bet. We have a call center number. That's always a great thing. I get customers calling in and they want to talk to a project manager about what's going on in their area. I'm happy to help. I live in Grants Pass, so I'm not that far. So hopefully that answers your question. But
It does. I just want to make sure that we as a council are working the best we can to support development in the community. So there's no surprises on either end, whether it's with Pacific Power or the developers. We certainly don't want to stifle that growth as we desperately are looking for jobs and housing. My last question that I have is, there was mention about AI cameras. Is there a map or any information that can be sent out to the community as to where the locations of those cameras are and who they operate through? Is that through Pacific Power? Is that through Flock and Palantir? Who operates those?
that I don't have an answer for.
I know that some of the cameras they access are publicly available, like their Forest Service cameras or
Yeah,
their
they're-
fire cameras or we collaborate with other agencies and have access to their cameras, but as far as the actual location of cameras, I don't know.
Is it possible to get a follow-up from you guys to us on who those collaborative partners are, and if possible, a map of those camera systems?
I can certainly ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all the questions I have at this point. Does any other council member have a question?
I do. Starting with the investor question, one thing I do know is that investors track their money, and they know projections for money, and they know past money. And so I'm just going to be blunt with the question, what percentage is being borne by the investors versus the consumer in this rehab project?
I can't answer that. I can ask. I can get back to you. Yeah.
I would greatly appreciate an answer, because I guarantee you before this project was started, they knew those percentages. So it's shocking to me that you wouldn't have a ready answer to that, because I would bet they have projections out 20 years on what potentially they will make based on this versus what's going to be borne by the customer.
Todd Andrews. The one thing is, all that information goes in front of the California Public Utility Commission, and that's all presented there, and that's where you as an individual would have an opportunity to comment on what that investment and such would be. But it's really, that's one of the great things about investor-owned utilities, is you have an independent body that's protecting the citizens, which is the Public Utility Commission.
I just wanted to see the openness of Pacific Power to tell us what their percentage split is, not so much that I would go to the Public Utility Commission and say that. But I think it's very important for investors, especially since these are the people who are putting their money into your investors, that there would be an upfront division and clear communication from Pacific Power of where the divide is. I know as a consumer myself, I would definitely like to know what percentage increase is going to be to the investors at my cost of what I'm paying for basically building your business.
But again, that's all through the process of when a rate case goes in front of the Public Utility Commission. You're exactly right. There is a risk to those investors because you have an independent body that is making that call of what that return is. It's not us that makes that call.
I've also been to them where the response is, well, we won't do it if it's too much of a cost to our investors. So if we could get numbers that Pacific Power is projecting, especially because Pacific Power has private information to the investor amount of money that they're receiving, it would be greatly appreciated to be a little bit more transparent with the individuals who are paying for this project. My second.
I think we could go to what has happened in the past through the Public Utility Commission. That's the way we can do it.
I agree, except I know that your investors are sitting around thinking of the future, not the past, and they certainly have those numbers under their hat. And I would like to know what they are. My second question is that we are about to rip up Main Street here in the next 2 years, which essentially will bring it down to the ground floor, doing the work for instance, if Pacific Power wanted to lay underground line. It would not be a cost to Pacific Power. It would be one that was borne by the city in the project that we already have going. What is the chances that Pacific Power would partner with our city in order to bury our lines on Main Street that has been blown out by 2 fires in 5 years?
So in terms of, we'd be happy to partner with you in terms of planning and design for undergrounding lines. I don't know that there's always a cost involved. I would not say that there's not going to be a cost. There's always a cost involved when there's engineering, planning, design, construction, materials. Yeah.
I'm just looking at the map of what our citizenry and Weed are going to be paying for Mount Shasta. I mean, I was taking a look at the maps. I agree with Ken. They were difficult to view. However, I think it would be a investment that our community would greatly benefit from, and bearing the cost of removing all of the concrete and everything else and having essentially a clean slate. If we're going to be running thousands of miles or hundreds of miles or whatever we're doing with transformers or whatever else, it seems to me that the next step looking forward is having buried lines as opposed to putting up fiberglass poles. So I would just be interested if Dustin, you could make efforts to reach out with Pacific Power, especially since we've now made it known to them that this is going to be a forthcoming project. I know that at one point I asked you to reach out to Pacific Power. I don't know what the response was.
Should we speak, Councilman? We already do speak. Jill and I have had multiple conversations. It doesn't work. Melissa, Jill and I already have a working relationship. We've been working through the situation with the vendor. We've had discussions about burying the lines.
Last I checked, they weren't very positive.
We're working on it.
Last I heard, they weren't very positive.
They said we ran out of credits.
We ran out of credits.
Yes.
I'm wondering if Pacific Power will work with us on those credits to be able to work on Main Street.
The Rule 20 credits that were available to the cities and county in our service territory expired at the end, June 8th of 2025. So if you had an active project prior to that, you have until 2033 to complete your construction project. But the City of Weed did not have an active project prior to that date. So the credits that were available here expired.
I'm wondering if Pacific Power is willing to partner with the City of Weed in order to get the project done.
Like I said, we'd be happy to sit down and talk about planning and design and what it would entail, but the credits cannot, that's part of a CPUC program, and we don't have the oversight of that program, so we can't bring them back.
I understand, but there are other partnerships that can be made.
Yeah, I think the key, and one of the things I want to make sure, is that when a community asks for something like you're asking, we do not put that cost to bear to the entire we don't ask Alturas to pay for we to be underground, and vice versa. So the partnership would be us explaining to you what the cost would be, and then the city council saying, we want to bear that cost. Because we would not ask all ratepayers throughout California that ask to bear the cost that they're asking us.
And obviously augmented by the work that we'd already do by digging out the street.
Of course.
Great.
So I have a technical question. It was mentioned that the poles are being replaced by both fiberglass and steel because of fire mitigation. Last I checked, steel was a good conductor of electrical current. What's the safety, and has there been any safety studies done, and what's the safety data on if there is an issue with the line that is not fire related, will it energize that pole, and how does that affect the neighboring areas?
Great questions. I don't know how much data there is, but like I was saying, we basically have taken best practices from a lot of different utilities on what they do. We're using covered conductor so that it basically is it's a real hard, thick plastic jacket that has the wire inside, so it's insulated. So that's one of the benefits of having a limb fall down, and if it went between two wires, it would actually start a fire. The limb falls to the ground, now you have a fire, with potentially a fire. With the coated conductor, you could have limbs lay on the line all day long, and it's not going to start a fire, so it won't conduct electricity. Go ahead.
So I guess to be more specific, because I was made aware of an issue at our pool last year with some live electricity. So hypothetically, semi-driver, drunk driver, elk, whatever, runs into a pole, that jacket gets disturbed and that energized line makes contact with that steel pole. What happens at that point? Is there any mitigation built into those systems to stop that from conducting and potentially causing a fire or any other harm?
So every pole is grounded. GEO 95 spec basically is kind of like national standards for electricity. So every pole is grounded in a way where if something did cause conductivity to go down the pole, it would go into a ground that is actually, basically pounded into the ground like 10 feet. It's a ground rod with a lug that goes and it's attached to the pole. So it isolates that away, but I have not heard of any type of conductivity like that. And that's the other thing. So especially during fire season, we go into what we call ESS settings. So all of our equipment is put on this very, it's like a very quick cycle of turning the power off as fast as we can. And so that would also play into it as far as it would basically just blip the circuit off and people would be de-energized.
Okay, so there is a de-energize factor built in.
Correct. Excuse me, the other thing I was going to mention, fiberglass, because I was really skeptical when we were installing fiberglass poles, because I'm thinking, I used to fight fires. The fiberglass melts, but actually the poles that we actually are getting from our companies through procurement, our procurement departments have a built in the resin is actually a fire retardant. And so they actually can withstand fires of a lot, very high magnitude, and be structurally sound. So obviously steel is what we're migrating to now. It's got a better life cycle as far as our inspections are concerned because, we have a contractor that goes out and does what we call pull test and treat inspections on every wood pole, every facility in our company. And they test to see if it's rotten or so forth. And that's how our maintenance cycles work. And so what we found through other utilities that we partnered with is that steel poles in the long run are our best asset going forward, where, like a wood pole's average lifespan is about 40 years. Well, right now, the stats are showing steel poles is at least double that. So.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
My question is, I want to know what Pacific Power is doing, or extra precaution to do to protect our customer from frauds and from scammers that's using Pacific Power, especially to targeting individual that I have a business. In this month itself, I've had 3 different callers saying that I needed to pay my bills, which I have everything online. And they would give us an 800 number. And when you call, and everything is Pacific Power. I've made a complaint. I've made an email asking what extra precaution is Pacific Power is really doing to protect us, because obviously our information has leaked because they have our account. So that's my question.
That's a great question. I'd appreciate it if you'd send me a copy of that email, and I'll make sure that our customer service, the director, that he has it, and we can address it. I do know that we do put it out, via email with our emailed online bills and with our, there's bill inserts, and there's been, ads on our social media channels, which I get, not everybody follows Pacific Power, but I know that we have said, be aware, don't, like, we would never, how the others do, we would never do this, like, we will not. So if you get contacted this way, it is a scam. But I'd be very interested to have the information that you sent and make sure it gets to the right person. And I'll follow up, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and I will say that's another thing that happened here not too long ago, is there were, I don't know what to call them, not fraudulent, but solar contractors that were trying to get business through telling customers that their rates were going to go up and that they needed to get solar right away, and they weren't. Check the business, check your business reference before you let anybody come into your property and slap solar on your roof. I think solar's a great thing. There's good people that are good solar contractors, but there are some people out there that are definitely trying to take advantage of our customers. It was happening here in Siskiyou County, so just be aware. Any other questions?
One quick 2-part question.
Yes.
Is there currently a application for a rate increase before the CPUC? And if there is not presently, is there going to be one in the near future?
Yes and yes.
So there's one before them right now?
We filed what's called a wildfire expense memorandum account in March, I believe. And the city was notified with a letter. So that one is before the CPUC. We don't expect them to review it for anywhere from 18 to 24 months. So.
How's the review period? When does that expire?
I don't know that there is an expiration date, to be honest with you.
I can tell you the final decision date is March 25th of 2027, if that helps you.
It's expired then. That helps. Forget all those questions, okay?
Yeah. So that one is before them, and yes, there'll be other cases filed in the future.
So that those listening or in the audience, so for example, the one that's under review, there are 2 fires in Siskiyou County in which Pacific Power got sued and had to pay out money because it was a result of a tree falling on one of your transformers, right? At least one of them. Yes?
I can't speak to our legal matters. We have settled all of the suits that were brought before us, but I can't answer your question.
Okay, but to the rate increases, Pacific Power and its investors are now going to what I call CPUC, but basically asking, can we recover all of our legal costs for this fire that was started by Pacific Power and increase the rates to pay for the lawsuits that we had to pay off and our legal fees?
I would direct you back to the letter that was sent to the city that explains what the WEMA is for.
So essentially,
It's in the letter.
okay. And so for those who are out in the audience, I would encourage you to read it and how your rates are being affected by Pacific Power. The substantial rate increases that you have seen is directly related to some of the things that were covered tonight.
All right, do we have any other questions from council?
Oh, no.
We're good, thanks.
All right, well, Jill and the team, thank you for your presentation and then answering our questions.
And would love to partner with you on our underground lines.
All right, we'll now move on to our consent agenda. The first item on our consent agenda, item A, by motion, council will consider adopting resolution number 29-2026, authorizing and directing the city manager to execute a side letter of agreement to the memorandum of understanding between the City of Weed and General Teamsters Local 137, professional healthcare and public employees. Item B, by motion, council will consider second reading and adoption by title only of ordinance number 492-2026, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Weed amending sections 5.24.020 and 5.24.030 of Chapter 5.24 of the Weed Municipal Code, restricting the issuance of new permits for short-term vacation rentals. Item C, by motion, council will consider special event permit requests for street closure and fee waiver requests by the Weed High School for their homecoming parade. Item D, by motion, council will consider waiver of Weed Municipal Code 9.10.110, sale of alcoholic beverages within the boundaries, WMC 9.16.010 and 9.16.030, for possession of open container and consumption of alcohol within the event boundaries of the Weed Carnivale at Bel Air Park. Item E, by motion, council will consider waiver of Weed Municipal Code 9.10.110, sale of alcoholic beverages within the boundaries, WMC 9.16.010 and 9.16.030, for possession of open container and consumption of alcohol within the event boundaries of the Flynn Creek Circus at Bel Air Park. Item F, by motion, council will consider authorizing the city manager to enter into First Amendment to telecommunications site license agreement. Item G, city clerk, by motion, council will consider approval of the June 11th, 2026 regular meeting minutes. Item H, by motion, council will consider approval of payment warrants dated June 9th, 2026 through June 29th, 2026, included any voided warrants and manual issued items totaling $300,295.74. And item I, by motion, council will consider approval and filing of the end of month report for June of 2026.
Mr. Mayor, if I could get clarification on item B. It's my understanding that there might be significant changes in the short-term vacation rental, and I'm wondering if it should be removed as a second reading.
So would you like the motion to remove that from consent?
I would like guidance either from McKinsey or our city manager. It's my understanding that there were potentially some changes which would require a first reading again. Is that accurate?
I'm not aware of any changes between the first reading and this.
There have not been any changes made, so if you wanted to discuss, then we would have to remove it from consent. Otherwise, it goes as originally printed.
I would request to remove it for discussion.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to remove item B from consent for discussion. Any other items to potentially remove? No?
I would move to accept the rest of the consent agenda minus item B.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion.
Public comment, please.
I'm sorry?
Ask for public comment, please.
Yes, we're getting there. Do we have any other items that need to be removed?
For me.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment on the consent agenda or item B being removed to regular agenda? All right, seeing as there is no public comment, all in favor of accepting the consent agenda with the exclusion of item B?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And we will now move on to item B of the removed from the consent agenda regarding ordinance 492-2026, amending the sections of 5.24 regarding permits for short-term vacation rentals.
Just a quick overview of what we went over last month. The Planning Commission requested the City Council consider additional regulation of short-term vacation rentals after reviewing the current distribution and impact of short-term rentals operating within the city. During its discussions, the Planning Commission expressed concerns regarding the cumulative impacts of vacation rentals on neighborhood character, housing availability, and long-term residential stability. The proposed ordinance would amend Chapter 5.24 of the Weed Municipal Code to prohibit issuance of new vacation rental permits and the renewal of existing ones effective September 1st. And if I recall, you directed us to give you the number of homes that, or the number of vacation rentals that we currently have, and I believe you sent those out, she sent them out shortly after. So what other changes would you like us to make?
Well, in that memo that we got, it also said that we could put a cap on it. We could go higher than what we have now. That's kind of what my discussion would be is, take from where I live, there's 3 houses that are empty right now. And so the thing for me saying that we're short on housing, we may be a certain thing, but I don't think that we're that short. But it's a piece of property that I own. If I'd like someone to rent it, which I'm not, but if I did, I want to be able to do that. So is there an extra cost on like paying the TOT like they do for hotels or motels, or is that different?
No, correct, they do have to pay TOT.
Okay, so.
They do have to sign up for a business license, and they are required to pay TOT.
And so can that be raised, or that has to be up to the votes of the citizens?
Raising the TOT is council discretion.
Right, okay, so that could be raised for that particular thing. That's what I want to know. I'm just wanting further, but would you say there's like 17, is there, or less than that?
We have 15 permitted
You have
with
15?
one new application going before the Planning Commission in August.
Okay,
So some of the questions that I had from going through the process, and Mackenzie, if you could please give guidance, is if we can remove the conditional use permit component. So we remove the portion where it runs with the land, and we just approve these on maybe a 2-year permit process, where there is a renewal application, maybe where they don't need to go before Planning Commission again unless there are complaints received.
Sure. Sorry, you can continue if you had more.
No, please, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I had 2 thoughts to that. First, if we are looking to change the conditional use permit component of this process, I think we would be safer taking it to the Planning Commission again first before bringing that sort of ordinance change, because that's in their zoning code purview. And this one did not go to the Planning Commission first. We took their direction to implement this ordinance, but this is not a zoning ordinance. So that's the first procedural thought I have on that. But for the ability for current permit holders to receive a fair return on their investment, we would need to grandfather out those permittees that currently have a permit that runs with the land. So, for instance, they might be subject to our ordinance on non-conforming uses. That doesn't mean we couldn't change the process for those going forward in the future. You could change it so they do not get permits that run with the land, but current permit holders would need to be able to grandfather out, get a return on their investment, potentially hold on to that for a number of years or until they ask to modify their use. And at that point, it would revoke their permit.
Yes, correct. And then, so, the thoughts in the memo that I had sent to council was, if we have 15 current, I do have 1 application going before the Planning Commission in August, so that will make 16 if it's approved. Planning Commission was just looking for guidance as far as, or requesting guidance as far as putting a cap on those, maybe a not to exceed, like I said in the memo, 25 or whatever number the council deems appropriate.
well, that's kind of what I was going at. That's why I wanted information, so we know exactly what numbers we're looking at in homes. And again, it's bad if you get into a neighborhood and these people that you have in there, I completely understand that, and their problems, and I could understand that. I happen to rent a few Airbnbs just taking them, and I try to watch over, at least for me, that house better than my house to make sure nothing happens. That doesn't always happen. But when they're here, I'm looking that they're gonna help the economy on somewhat by going into the stores or all these restaurants we have in Weed, which we obviously need restaurants, and other things, gas and so on. So I think that's kind of a plus on it. But maybe you could raise the tax on it for them being here. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there, but I think 20 or this, it's the rest of the council on what they decide they would like to do too. That's my question. Can we put a cap on it? We don't have to put 30 or 40, but 20, or do you want to keep it at the same? I just think it's a fair shot for everybody that, unfortunately, if they don't live here, because I may be in that same boat, and that's why I'm saying it, but I'm not going to do that. My house is going to be sold. But if something that I want to do, and I could afford to have someone come watch my house and pay somebody, then that's a good.
To 20, what do we do with the grandfather clauses? As far as, we have people that have a permit already, and if we pass this ordinance the way it's written, or even increase it to 20 with a modification, I also read the ordinance as taking away the permits of those that already have. Did I misread that?
Right, actually, the intent, new use permits would be issued if adopted. Those that are already issued, those permit holders may continue to operate so long as their permit conditions remain met, they're in current and good standing, there are no code violations or other triggers that could merit withdrawal. And at that point, they'd be given likely an opportunity to be heard on the proposed revocation. So no, it would, you said there's 17 currently, those 17 would continue to hold their permit. And if you did want to put a cap of 20, then the lucky next 3 permit applicants could be entitled to permits, and we would stop it at that.
Well,
Next question is actually for Justin, the chief. Do we have any issues with, as far as complaints regarding Airbnbs or anything?
We've had a few, and usually they're not habitual, monthly complaints. It's just the tenant that's there at the time, maybe making too much noise for the neighborhood or something like that. There's one in particular that's kind of a mother-in-law's quarters that sits back. We've had neighbors, not the current neighbors, but past neighbors that complained about that one. I would say that some sort of review process every couple of years would be good, because I'm thinking of a couple that right now that were former Airbnbs that are possibly rented out as long-term rentals now. I'm not sure they're still active as an Airbnb.
I like that.
so,
Okay, thanks.
Good
anything
question.
else?
No, I'm okay.
So if I'm understanding council correctly, as future guidance. Thank you. Thank you. So just to clarify my understanding and my direction, so work on a process, a review process every 2 years. Can potentially consider raising TOT, or that's a separate request, but raise to 20. 20 is the magic number.
Well, like I said, I just threw that number out.
Yep, I know.
But if it's 25, or I'm just saying whatever, I just want to know, what everyone thinks on it, and if it's.
Yeah.
And we have a question from Melissa still.
Okay.
I think thoughts are, I'm concerned putting a cap of 20 on there where 17 are already issued with a grandfather clause. I would think on a fairness level would be to raise it to 20 and put a moratorium on it until we were down to 10 grandfathered, so that would leave 10 rotating. And then, obviously, I think part of it is that there needs to be a review prior to issuing the permit, whatever it may be, as far as, the property itself, with a review of the property and making sure that it is being appropriately used as an Airbnb. And just so everyone knows, when we say short-term rental, in case there's any question about it, it's you want to go to a house less than 30 days. So this is not changing a situation where somebody wants to come into our city and rent a house for 6 months or a year. So I believe that they need a little bit more oversight, especially since I'm seeing more and more, at least the houses I know of that are Airbnb, the owner doesn't live anywhere around here. And that's concerning to me as someone who loves our small town. And I don't want to not have businesses here. I think it's a good promotion, but the fabric of our community to me is more important. So anyway, those are a couple of thoughts on the issuance of the Airbnb permits, but I do think a cap needs to be on there. I'm just not quite sure we're there on exactly what that ordinance should look like.
I agree with you, Councilwoman, I do, and I agree with what you're saying too.
So do we need to, Mackenzie, do we need to bring this back to planning, or can we make those changes at the DS right now?
We would have to come back for our first reading with these changes incorporated, but I do want to hear just a verbal consensus from the council before we proceed with drafting, whether you all want us to include a cap at 20 that over time will reduce to 10 as permits are revoked or expire by their own terms. Is that what you'd like to see?
Yes.
Well, what I was saying is, I'm okay with a cap of 20, but put a moratorium on right now until the grandfathered properties come down to 10. And then that would have 10 where there would be this reissuing permit. I just don't think it's fair to say, okay, the next 3 people who throw in a permit, and that's it. I'm uncomfortable with that, but
So we want to put a moratorium until it goes back down, I see what you're saying.
until it gets to 10, and then they can restart issuing up to 20.
May I just request to be included in building this ordinance, since I was here from the request from Planning Commission originally, and my 2 cents is I would really like it if we could remove the conditional use permit component and just have it be a short-term rental permitting process that the Planning Commission does, because I would love to remove the runs with the land portion of it. I have properties that have sold, and that approved permitted short-term rental stays with that property. Whether or not they're operating like that, but I would really like to be involved this time and have that part removed.
And I hear you, especially because one Airbnb that may not be a problem is because the current owner of it has the property under control. But once that property goes to somebody else, there's a little bit more concern about it. The other thing that I just want to bring up that I was thinking about when I was looking at this TOT is whether or not there's any way that there can be an emergency permit issued if we're in a fire season and we need some short-term rentals. I don't know what would happen in that situation.
I think in an emergency, the council can direct all of that.
We can suspend it.
So I have a
Correct me if I'm
question,
wrong.
since we have a large audience tonight, if there's any public comment in regards to short-term rentals.
I think they're all hanging on for money.
Well,
Chicken right in.
I will make a motion that we send it back to the planning commission with the recommendations from this council.
I agree.
Can you
And
list those off just so we have a record?
what's that?
Can you list off all the changes that you want us to make? So CUP,
Oh, a list? Okay.
Yeah, it's a cap at,
Let's
it's a cap at
start
20.
with removing the conditional use permit.
We're removing the conditional use permit,
Let's
a cap at 20.
add a moratorium until we get back down to 10,
okay?
and then we will cap it off at 20. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
You could also, I believe, Mackenzie, if I'm correct, you could also build that emergency component into the ordinance. If there, like Councilmember Wetstein just mentioned, if there is a wildfire and we do need to quickly permit some short-term for emergency purposes, could that be built into the new ordinance?
Certainly.
Yep.
Okay, so number 4, okay.
And then one last question. Based on what it's going to take with police and everything else with these Airbnbs, I know there was the potential of raising TOT on it, but if we're taking off the conditional use permit and making it actually a permit for an Airbnb, can we just assign an amount, a dollar amount to that?
Yeah, by resolution, we can adopt a fee for that permit.
Okay. That's my last question. I promise I'm quiet.
I think that's all good stuff. Do we have any other
No, I think
discussion
everybody
with council?
given
I've
direction.
covered it.
I think, all right.
All right, well, I will work with Mackenzie and Sandy to bring you back another one.
Okay, so we have a motion to send that back. I will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, council business. Item A, administration. By motion, council will consider introduction and first reading by title only of ordinance number 493-2026, imposing a 1.5% transactions and use tax for general governmental purposes to be administered by the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, subject to the approval of the voters. Then by motion, council will consider resolution number 30-2026, placing a measure regarding a transaction use tax on the ballot for the general municipal election called for November 3rd, 2026.
So staff recommendation to the city council, take the following actions by is that what you just read?
Yes.
Okay, so we are asking, city council is being asked to consider placing the city of Weed essential city services measure before city voters at the November 3rd, 2026 general municipal election. If approved by a majority of voters, the measure would establish 1.5% general transactions and use tax administered by the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. The tax is estimated to generate approximately $1.7 million annually for the city's general fund and would remain in effect until ended by voters. The proposed measure is intended to provide locally controlled source of general revenue for essential city services, including 911 emergency services as our dispatchers provide, fire protection and wildfire prevention, emergency medical response, police patrol and protection, building safety and inspection, streets, roads, sidewalks, city infrastructure, snow removal, and other lawful general city services. Because the measure is a general tax, the proceeds would be deposited directly into the city's general fund and could be used for any lawful municipal purpose. To inform residents about the city's budget, service demands, infrastructure needs, and the potential consideration of a locally controlled sales tax, we did conduct a series of public community meetings throughout June. The outreach included 2 in-person meetings and 1 virtual meeting conducted through Zoom that we have now posted the video online. The city also distributed a community mailer to households, published information through its website and our social media channels, and developed informational content featuring city services and operational challenges that we all are facing. The community presentations identified several continuing pressures. For instance, the fire responses nearly doubled from 2023 to 2025, while volunteer participation either stagnated or declined. Current police department staffing does not provide continuous 24-hour police coverage every day of the year, and rural recruitment and retention remain difficult. The city's fire station is more than 100 years old and is not owned by the city. Approximately 15 of the city's 25 miles of roadway require repair, and significant portions of the roadway network have been rated fair to poor. Portions of the sewer system date back to the 1940s. The wastewater system is operating at or near capacity, and gaps remain in storm drainage infrastructure. Operating costs for personnel, insurance, equipment, utilities, construction, maintenance, and regulatory compliance continue to increase. The city has responded through grant funding, staffing vacancies, deferred maintenance, operational inefficiencies, and the use of one-time resources. These strategies have helped preserve the services up to this point, but they are not sustainable. and it does not establish an ongoing revenue source for recurring operations and deferred infrastructure needs that continue to pile up. The proposed ordinance would add Chapter 3.30, Transactions and Use Tax of 2026 to Title III of the Weed Municipal Code. The ordinance establishes a 1.5% transactions tax on taxable retail sales and a corresponding 1.5% use tax on taxable property stored, used, or otherwise consumed in the city consistent with state law. The ordinance is drafted for administration by the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration and incorporates the statutory provisions necessary for uniform collection. It would become operative only if approved by the majority of city voters. I want to make that clear. It is your decision. The ordinance has no automatic sunset date and would remain in effect until ended by voters. The ordinance does not approve a specific spending plan at this point or legally earmark the revenue for a particular department or project. It is simply helping us balance the books and maintain the services that you currently receive. It also preserves the measure's status as a general tax and allows future city councils to appropriate the proceeds through an annual public budget process in accordance with community needs and legal requirements. The accompanying resolution would approve submission of the ordinance to the voters and place the measure on the November 3rd, 2026 ballot. The resolution also requests consolidation with the general municipal election, authorizes coordination with the Siskiyou County Elections Department, provides ballot arguments and rebuttals, and directs the city attorney to prepare an impartial analysis and authorizes payment of the city's proportionate election costs. The staff and the city attorney may add factual recitals to the final resolution. We already did that. And the ballot question is there for your consumption. So required council approval. Under California law, the ordinance imposing a general transaction and use tax must be approved by at least 2/3 of all members of the city council before it may be submitted to voters. The resolution placing the measure on the ballot should be acted upon separately. The tax would take effect only if subsequently approved by the majority of voters during the November 3rd election. The fiscal impact, the city must reimburse Siskiyou County for its proportional share of the cost of consolidating and conducting the election. The final cost will depend on county election charges, yada, yada. If approved by voters, the measure is estimated to generate, again, approximately $1.7 million annually to the general fund. Actual receipts will vary based on taxable sales, economic conditions, the operative date, and state administration and collection charges. No revenue, again, will be collected unless the voters approve the ordinance and it becomes operative. So this is what we present before you, City Council. Any questions?
So I have a question. What is the CDTFA, Department of Fee and Tax Administration, currently charging us for the collections on those sales taxes?
I would have to get that answer for you.
Okay. As a business owner who has to collect the taxes for the state, I'm curious how much they charge our city for the privilege of doing that.
I will follow up.
I would request that the resolution, the sections be renumbered correctly. The item that's appearing as section 2 the second time, is that the proposed language that will appear on the ballot itself?
Yes. It was something that we did together.
I'm curious if that language was run by anyone who provides guidance to general elections.
Yes, it was a team effort between Mackenzie, Sandy helped, and me, and our consultant.
I was going to say, yeah, Rob from Grassroots Lab.
And he is,
the majority of it.
Yeah, and Rob is online if any of y'all have questions for him.
I am here if you have questions. Thank you.
Hi, Rob. My question for you is, this is quite a mouthful that is in the ballot, and there's a lot of what I would call not sexy things in there that I understand having a broad general tax collected so that the city council can appropriately distribute it. But is all of this wording necessary in order for us to be able to use it on those services? Or is there a shorter way to be able to present this to the average voter?
It's a unique vernacular, writing these ballot questions. You have, I believe it's 78 words to fill, and it is generally speaking, the best practice to fill them. I think you want to faithfully articulate the kinds of general city services that these dollars could be invested in, and you want to try and reflect the broad spectrum of local services, from public safety to streets and roads and other things in between. I think it is a best practice to try and enumerate as many of them as you can. I don't know that it's legally required, although you do have to again, faithfully adhere to it being a general tax. It's not a specific tax, e.g. just for public safety or just for roads. It could go to any general services. So I think you do want to enumerate a lot of those, not only to accurately convey that, but also to give various constituencies within the city faith that all of these services are included, right? So I don't think you want to emphasize some to the exclusion of others. But, as an English major myself, it does pain me to write these in this way because it is, again, a very unique way to write, but it is generally conceived to be the best practice, and I've been doing it for 25 years.
Okay. I'll tell you the two that, well, the one thing that bothers me is and other general city services. I think our constituency has hung in with us, but I guess my own voter stance is I don't like voting for things that just say and general stuff.
Indeed. I may defer that to the attorney, but I believe that is a legally useful phrase.
Right, that is really necessary to make sure we aren't impermissibly adopting a special tax with less than 2/3 voter approval. If we're promising to earmark them in a certain way beyond, being honest and upfront and saying it can be used for other general city services, that would require 2/3 voter approval rather than the simple majority needed for a general tax.
Okay, then I'll ask it one more question. What is the short mouthful if we want, I don't know, some constituents may want to put signs up that state their position. Is there any recommendation to a short name to this ballot?
I think that is an excellent question because we're on the threshold of potentially referring this to the voters, which would greatly constrain the city in adopting such taglines. I believe that we have kind of a title. Ultimately, it will get some letter assignment, Measure A, Measure B, etc. But I believe it has a essential city services tag. The city is pretty limited in creating such a shortened phrase or tagline because the city cannot advocate for passage. We can really only provide factual information, and it can't be, for lack of a better phrase, salesy.
So what you're saying is I got to put up with this really long ballot.
You can put up a sign that says yes or no, depending on your proclivity
Yes, no.
on Measure A.
No. I mean, I'm just, it sounds like I have to go along with this.
The person at the Wairika would assign a number to the ballot measure, right?
Correct.
There will be ultimately, yes, I believe that's assigned by the county. And the council members, as well as members of the public on their own time without public resources could create such a thing, but we acting on behalf of the municipality cannot, with public resources, create such a phrase.
Okay.
All right, do we have any other questions from the council before we open it up to the public?
I would just like to make a statement. I am not a person of pro-tax. There's one person in the audience that can testify to that fact. I went to Lola last night with Pet and our district, with our city manager. I was talking to my district manager today. Everybody's a manager. So, and what I discovered was that almost every city is applying for taxes. because we have a lack of funding coming from state and federal level. We have increased costs for local services. And in order to, I'm gonna have to eat some crow, but in order to keep up, I don't think there's a lot of choices here. And so it's my last shot at giving that hurrah for the tax, even though I don't like it. But I'm eating crow slowly, feather by feather. So anyway, so that's all I'd like to say on that.
All right. Any other council members?
I'll say that I'm eating crow with Ken because the last two votes they had, I voted against it. And so now I'm probably one of the biggest proponents trying to get it because anyone that asks me a question, I'm telling them why they should. So what the manager told you is true. And you won't see the effect immediately, but promise me, in a couple of years, you're gonna see this effect. And it's gonna be one that you're gonna be real disappointed in. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't truly believe that. And so I've seen the budget, I know what we're looking at, and things that we still have to accomplish. But it's up to you all. I mean, I voted no twice on it. But now sitting up here and seeing it all for the last 3 years, well, I have a whole different perspective of it, and probably some other folks that understand that too, and I'm for it. So I'm saying this is for the citizens to help out here, for your city that you love and your area that you love, because it just won't affect weed. It's going to affect all over. And let's say worst case scenario, you lose your fire department or your police department, you're not getting that back. Go check it out in Densmere. It's millions and millions to get another force here. We've got a good group of folks that are here, and we are all citizens. We all live together as a community. So I'm just saying it's up to you, and I'll respect anything that you guys do, although it's a closed ballot, but I'm for this one, and I'm eating a lot more crow than Ken is, so that's my take on it.
Barbecue tonight.
And I'm right there with you, Mark. I believe that this ballot is much needed. Our community needs it. Definitely, we must keep our police and our fire department. This is something that we have to come together, and it doesn't take just one department or one section of the town to make it happen, but it takes all of us to come together and to come as a whole. So I really, it's a hard pill to swallow, but at the end of the day, we know that we need this. This is something that it has to be done, and I can see that it can be, beneficial to our small town, and we'd like to keep it the way it is and make sure that everyone is taken care of. So I'm right there with you.
Thank you.
I would say that the short time that I'm here, I think we've been taking fingers and putting them in the holes in the dike, trying our best to be able to keep things together. What I can say about passing a tax like this, as opposed to us trying to divide something a million ways, there are a lot of very good services to the good people in city, like senior lunches, like our senior van, like the wonderful things that the Chamber of Commerce does. And by being able to pass something like this, it frees us up to allow that flow back to those services, because it really pains me, and I have talked with others up here, it pains us that we are trying to slice this in the way that our constituents want, and we have sliced it so little, I don't know if we're doing good causes for any one of them. And I certainly would like to happily provide a full budget to some of the good services that we have. And if we had this money from a tax measure, it certainly would provide the cushion to do that. So I think even though I am anti-tax through and through, I don't see any choice but to vote to pass this.
All right, do we have any comments from staff? All right. Do we have any public comment tonight? Please come up to the podium.
Forward.
My name is Raymond Fuller. I live over on Siskiyou Way across from the east side of campus. I'm 80 years old and I do not have a car. I'd have a real hard time if the senior bus and the senior lunch are canceled because the taxes aren't enough. I'm anti-tax too. But I sure will bite the bullet and gladly pay the extra sales tax so that I don't have to thumb a ride or bother someone else to take me to grocery outlet or Ray's. So, quick question, if it's approved by the voters, when does the budget go into effect? Does it go into effect right then, or is it the first of the year? Is it an annual thing?
They'll start collecting at the first of the year, but we won't, I think we get them in quarterly payments if my understanding is correct.
So the
I
next,
believe it may actually begin April 1st of the following year.
What she said.
I'm sorry,
It would be April 1st of the following year.
Yep.
so that'll be the first distribution of the sales tax.
Yes.
Okay, so if it's not approved and the voters don't want to pay any increased taxes, when will things like senior bus and senior lunch get canceled?
If I could interject, that what you are referring to is the next item on the list for discussion. This is a 1.5% sales tax that the city council is looking to place on an agenda. You're referring to what we refer to as Measure O, which is a 0.25% sales tax for senior services, library, and miscellaneous services for the city. So hold your thought and give us a couple minutes to finish this one up, and we'll address that.
So you don't know when, if it's not approved, things will end?
Yes, so we have, the voters approved Measure O some years ago for the senior services and library and public safety. This sales tax measure is so that we can continue to fund things such as public safety, while we would still be able to collect Measure O if this is not placed on the ballot or is not approved. It'd be really hard to have a good community with senior services when we have no police or fire department.
No argument from us. I'm sure that most of the people here tonight, I don't know, but I'm guessing you haven't had this kind of turnout at a city council meeting for a while. And we're interested in the money to pay for the services that we rely on. That's all.
We have a budget process that goes every June. And so that's when you really start to see it reflected in the public record of how it affects us. So we just approved a budget in June for the year, and that's how much council's authorized us to spend. What you're going to see over the next couple of years is every time we have these budget discussions, if it doesn't come sooner, you're going to see us slash city services, because we either have to increase the revenue or reduce how much we spend. And so I can't guarantee you an exact time when that'll happen, but it over the course of years, like they said earlier, you're going to see us cut more and more services because we have to balance the budget.
Nothing changes. Nothing will change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Now, forgive me, I'm not a politician by trade, so I might not have the eloquence required, but while I agree that...
Excuse me, I'm sorry, name and address, please.
Oh, Dale Bradish, 335 Lake Street. Back on the topic, I do agree that we are in dire need of more funding for services. I mean, the crumbling burnt building out there is certainly the statement piece. But prices will continue to increase even beyond this vote. So my question is this tax only a one-time thing, or will we continuously need to rely on just getting taxed more and more? Another thing is, I believe needing more voter consensus is a good thing. I mean, the more we agree, the more we can say we want this. I also think the and more is quite scary to me. I don't see what would be the bad idea if we had a detailed plan of what we're spending money on, and even if we need to reallocate later, couldn't we just put it up for a vote for reallocation?
We do that all the time.
Legally, if we list it, as our attorney stated, legally, if we list it as specific, then the threshold for getting it approved goes higher because we need 2/3 of the voters to vote for it. That's number one. Number two, refer to number one.
If I could say one other thing.
Yep.
Where you get to dictate the money goes is you at the voter booth for the 5 people who are sitting up here. And so if you want faith in the other general services, what you're doing right now, being a civic communicator on what you want in your city is exceptionally helpful to all of us because we're all voted in to do your will, not our will. And so if you want comfort into where this money is going, getting to know the 5 of us and who might replace us is the best way to know where your money is going to go based on the 1.5%. What they're trying to say is in the legal world on how we collect this money, if we specify one thing, if we say we want to fund the senior bus, then we have to do a 2/3 vote, which means 2/3 of everyone in Weed has to agree in order for us to do that. If we do it broadly, then it only requires a lower percentage to be able to pass it, and you at the ballot box gets to vote for us, and then we're going to direct the money where you tell us to.
Right, I guess my hiccup on that is, I don't see how requiring more people to want this would be a bad thing.
Well, if I may, the general fund is not, I see what you're saying. It gives you comfort to know where your money's going. Here's the challenge. Over the weekend, we had another water break that we didn't plan for. One of the major lines is Sullivan. If I don't have the flexibility from council to respond to those because I have to, because what they expect of me is once they approve that budget, then we as a collective have to adhere to it. The general fund and the sales tax helps me, give me the flexibility as your city manager to use that general money to respond to emergencies, to help them make extra purchases, that we normally couldn't make. It becomes quite inefficient that if I have to come to council for a lot of the major purchases that they allow us to make as a collective on your behalf. So it's not that it's there, you're giving us a blank check. We have multiple processes that we have to go through every year required by the state or stuff we do locally to hold ourselves accountable. During the budget process, we do a CIP, which is us telling council 3 to 6 months beforehand what each department head needs so that we can start having discussions with your elected officials about how we spend the money that you give us. That happens for 3 to 6 months. We have audits every year that is required by the state that goes over every single purchase, every single department head and me spend. And then they report to council being like, hey, here's where your money's going. I also have a responsibility to oversee every single department and their purchasing because I'm directly accountable to council as a city manager. So while I understand your point, accountability is good, I also want to reassure you that we have a number of accountability structures in place already because of people who are concerned like you, so that when they make a vote on your behalf on how to dice the budget, that they are educated on how to do it intelligently. And we've got a lot of processes in place already that make sure that staff and I are adhering to what you want us to do, on top of your power to vote.
You also know that you can go online and look at the city budget. You as a citizen, you have a right to go in there, and you can see where the money's being spent.
What website would that be in specific?
Was it US, is it our? US?
ci.weed.ca.us. And you can also find my contact information. If you ever want to meet with me, I'll give you a tour of the city. I'll show you what we do. If you want to get to know us, I'm here whenever you want to be. I'll show you what I know.
That'll answer some of your questions. You'll see where a lot of that money goes.
Yeah,
It'll make it clearer for you.
absolutely.
Then you'll get an idea of what we all see. We're seeing the same thing. We just get to hear it a little sooner than you do. And then we have 3 months to panic. So that's kind of where we're at.
We've all had the same tour as well.
But you're more than welcome to that.
If I may ask another thing.
Sure.
You said the tax was a one-time thing, but the prices will still, as inflation happens and the economy does its thing. What are we doing to future-proof, to bring in businesses and stuff like that?
So some of the things that staff and council and I are up to, that's partly the downtown, as you referenced it, has been a victory in a lot of ways. Because before the fire happened, we were going through the receivership process with the previous owner, which could take potentially years to get it flipped over. Because Mr. Juarez chose to give the city those properties, now the time horizon has went from 3 to 4 years to 3 to 6 months. We just took over the properties in December, and just today I got the final draft for getting the project published so that we can start getting contractors to bid to clean it up. Part of the challenge that we had, one was my fault because I tried writing a bid without checking with our attorneys first, so we had to reject all the bids. That's part of it. The other part too is hazmat. It's not just like I can send my staff in there or volunteers to go clean it up because there's a lot of toxic and hazardous chemicals. So I don't feel comfortable recommending to council or staff or citizens for that matter to take on that sort of thing when we know there's health issues there. So the time horizon to get that fixed has actually been shrunk by years. So what you've seen as 9 months of rubble has actually been reduced to allow us to clean it up quicker. And if we still had to fight, if the previous owner didn't give us the properties, they would still be sitting there and the recourses that council would have would be minimal.
I appreciate your words, give us the properties, but in reality, so that everyone understands without the legalese, is obviously we had someone who didn't want to take care of his properties. We were spending lots of money of the city of Weed to try to, through lawyers, force the process that we could get control of the buildings. We were bleeding money in legal fees. Instead, when we saw an opportunity, we took those buildings, and now we can go through the process of making the cleanup happen as opposed to waiting for someone to step up with the money. And so I know that everyone out there is saying, I'm staring at a building that is sitting here. But what city manager was saying is, we knocked off probably 4 years of fighting in court, bleeding taxpayer money to pay lawyers, and instead are now rallying as much as we can to be able to come up with funds so that we can make your Main Street back to the Main Street that you probably all remember it to be. And I know that it's time consuming. I can tell you that I want to rip my hair out with government because I think on a business level, and these guys keep telling me you can't do things that fast. But I'm telling you guys, it's coming. It is coming sooner than you know. And if we can get the money from this tax, the faster you're going to see it happen, because it is majorly in the works. I know it just sounds like a bunch of politicians sitting up here telling you, oh no, we're doing something. No, it's happening.
So I want to go back to your original question. Your original question to us was the future proofing on a one-time tax. So sales tax revenue that this city primarily runs on is based on what people purchase that is non-grocery items here in the city, goods and services. As a local business owner, I can tell you that 99% of my company's revenue does not come from the city. people all around the world pay sales tax for my products to pay for the city services that we pay to CDTFA. So one way that we can improve how much sales tax generation we have is by local shopping local, or by encouraging travelers to stop here if they're coming down I-5 or 97 and spend their money here. I've had a number of people make opinions about gas stations in South Weed. I, for one, am grateful that we have those businesses there because they're the largest generator of sales tax that this city relies on for our services. One of the things that we're looking at as a council in the city is improving and expanding, like we talked to with Jill Drinkwater from Pacific Power, the ability to increase the number of businesses that we can put into South Weed and other areas of town, as well as homes, because the more people that live here and shop here, and the more people who stop and spend money here, and the more businesses we have, isn't just jobs, but it's income to run the city. So the way we future-proof our income tax, or sales tax, generation is by getting more sales to happen. And I'm not saying that everybody in Weed needs to go buy local. I mean, that's kind of a pipe dream I've learned over the years. But we can encourage people to come through here. We don't want people to see Weed as the place where they turn off to go up 97. We want them to stop and go to our gas stations, our restaurants, stay in our hotels, stay in our Airbnbs, go bowling, and support the businesses here. So marketing to people, when I travel around the country, around the world, and people ask me about Weed, they don't believe it's a real city, or they have questions, whether it's an actor on a set or a customer at a convention, I always encourage them, come check us out. Weed, it's not what you think. It's not a cannabis town. It's a great place. You can go hiking, take your family, go fishing, go camping. So we as citizens have a responsibility to share that with the people we meet when we travel, online, wherever we are. Everybody wants to ask what they get for themselves, but my question is, what are you doing for the community? Are you acting and portraying the community in a positive light to the people who see you, who watch what you do, or that you interact with? And it's easy to have complaints or to have opinions, but really to encourage people to come and spend their time here and as well spend their dollars is how we future-proof that. The other side of that is in getting locals. We have several entrepreneurs on this DS that own businesses or locally. Encouraging young people to build businesses here and not leave. To say instead of going to Medford or Reading where there's a population and it's easier to make a buck, that you build or rent a place on Main Street or in South Weed to bring business here and invest back in that community. And to be involved as a volunteer. If Rotary's doing a cleanup day, the Chamber's doing a cleanup day. I see people all the time on social media that complain about South Weed or they complain about Main Street, but I don't see those people with Rotary in South Weed picking up garbage. I don't see those people at the Chamber on Main Street picking up garbage. So it takes a village. It's one thing to say what you do, but do what you say. And so I would encourage, I myself came here to, when I think Ken was the mayor at the time, to share some negative opinions of the city council. And here I am, decades later up here on the DS. So I would also encourage you to get involved. Come to our meetings, come to the planning commission meetings, ask the questions, and check out the website. I think what you're doing right here with your time at the podium is the first step.
Well, no further questions on my front.
I would like to follow up to answer some of your other questions. Directly, what are we doing administratively, or what are we recommending to council in future years? What to do with the extra revenue? First, we have to balance the revenue we have. To be blunt, we're 1.6 million estimated annual shortage with the current services that we provide. And that's the first deficit that we have to make up. But if we have good years, which based on the current trends we're going to continue, what we want to do, what I am proposing that we do with the rest of it is we need to build reserves. The current budget outside of TOT does not purchase new vehicles for my staff. We are the police or public works, we did not budget for those vehicles because frankly we couldn't afford it. So what So building up reserves will help out a lot with re-giving the staff the equipment they need to do their jobs more effectively. Because right now, the biggest expenditure that I have, that we have, is personnel. We've cut everything else outside of the state requirements that I have to provide for my staff. We shouldn't just be doing the bare minimum, because then you're going to get bare minimum services because that's all they can provide. And the thing is, they're miracle workers. They have minimal equipment because that's what we can afford, and they make this one of the safest towns in Siskiyou County. When those three guys over there run departments that keep this city safe. We do too, we contribute, but they're on the ground. And that's really what I want to preserve, because if we can't get the shortfall, I have to cut.
I actually, after what you said, I do have one question. What would be the next thing you would cut?
Well, that's something we would have to discuss as a group. We have not made those decisions, so I can't comment on that, but.
Hopefully we won't have to, excuse me. Hopefully we won't.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can put that aside for right now, and well, the next council, they'll be sitting up here, they'll have some things to think
And
about.
wait till November.
Yeah, wait till November.
When you run
Well,
away.
that's why this measure is before us tonight and before you as the public to comment on, is the first step is to get this on the ballot, and hopefully it passes. But we're trying to preemptively address the issue before those cuts have to be made.
I see. Well, thank you for your time. I will be taking my seat.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you for the questions.
Thank you for participating in civic discourse.
No other question.
All
I'll
right.
make a motion.
Do we have any other public comment tonight for the tax measure?
Then I will take,
Take more comments.
no more comments.
How's it taste?
What's that?
I said, how's it taste, Ken? And, oh, Sioux Town, Woodridge.
Wait a minute, I gotta take some water.
Take some water with that, and you don't want me to tell you what Kim said.
I don't care. That's what I say. So now I got my water, I'm okay. I will make a motion, unless somebody else wants to. We'll consider introduction and first reading of by title only of ordinance number 493-2026, imposing a 1.5% transaction and use tax for general governmental purposes to be administered by the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, subject to the approval of the voters. And the other part is.
May I make a friendly amendment? Can we get it numbered correctly?
What is the correct number that you're thinking is supposed to be?
That was for the resolution, and we will be sure to correct that. That'll be the next motion.
Thank you. I will second. And
Are we including resolution 3-2026?
I think you have to read that one separate.
Okay, so on the motion and second for ordinance 493-2026, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And do we have a motion?
I will make another motion to consider resolution number 30-2026, placing a measure on the ballot, I read it right, placing a measure regarding a transaction and use tax on the ballot for the general municipal election called for on November 3rd, 2026.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Mackenzie,
Aye.
is this where I'm supposed to say correct the numbers?
I have it noted. We could do that. Thank you.
All right. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is item B, Public Works. By motion, council will consider resolution number 31-2026, awarding the bid for the Millfire Storm Drain Infrastructure Replacement Project, and authorize the city manager to enter into contract.
Yes, so on June 25th, the city went ahead and received bids for this project all the way up to 2 p.m. After careful review of the bids from both Pace Engineering and the city attorney, we are recommending to award Tolles in the amount of $1,113,269. $548,000 will have to come out of city funds to be able to complete this project. One of the attachments is a letter from Pace Engineering explaining why we're recommending the bid to go to Tolles. If you guys have any further questions, I'm pretty sure between Mackenzie and I, we can answer that.
All right, council members, do you have any questions?
No questions. Just won't get it done.
What was the lowest bid? 1,000,
$1,113,269.
the local companies?
That was Tolles.
And wasn't there one Buzz?
So Busy Bee Paving did come in lower, but they did not have a complete bid package after a review from Pace Engineering and the city attorney.
All right, do we have any public comment? This is in regards to Mill Fire Storm Drain replacement.
With no comment, I will make a motion to consider resolution number 31-2026, awarding the bid for the Mill Fire Storm Drain Infrastructure Replacement Project and authorize the city manager to enter into contract.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Last chance for public comment. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C, fire by motion. Council can,
May I make a motion that we move F off on the list?
I will second that we move item F for Measure O. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll go on to item F, finance by motion. Council will consider requests for Measure O tax disbursements for fiscal year 2026-2027 and approve allocations. Okay, we have a staff report.
Oh, I stole yours too.
Yeah. Feels like I lost it.
Yes,
So this is after last council meeting. As I told you, as I read the letter from Measure O's, as Measure O committee, Measure O committee said recommended allocations, lead library had already been allocated $55,000. Remaining funds to be distributed to outside agency. Thank you. Works sometimes. Others. Thank you. Mayor and council, Measure O recommends that the library has been allocated. The library has been allocated $55,888, and the remaining funds to be distributed to outside agencies as well as municipal departments in the amount of $244,112 is the allocation. The intent of the Measure O, as I read last meeting, is as follows. Shall the city of Weed impose a transactions and use tax of 0.25% of the gross receipts of any sale or use pursuant to Revenue and Taxation Code Section 7285.9 to fund the operation, maintenance, and improvement of a public library, to fund a portion of the cost to providing senior nutrition meals within the city limits of the city of Weed and other senior programs and services, and for general municipal purposes including police, fire protection, and street maintenance and improvements. The fiscal impact, the available Measure O funds, is the total amount of $244,112. And included in your packet is all the people who submitted requests, along with the original final recommendations that I read last meeting.
All right, so as we go into council member discussions, I want to let the public know, I had a member of the Measure O committee meet with me last week, and I was kind of shocked. So we were all a little taken aback when the Measure O committee came to us last month and recommended to put all that money toward the Main Street cleanup and instead of the senior services and all the areas that we as citizens voted on that tax for. And that Measure O committee member had let me know that allegedly that the staff member had, in his terms, strong-armed them to that decision. This city has $4.3 million from the Mill Fire settlement, and that's up to this council and you as the voters who vote us in to decide on where that goes. So I put together a spreadsheet and handed it out to the council this evening. So out of that $244,112 that's left after funding the library, that money from Measure O would fund almost everything that was requested. We would have to make some hard decisions on between the police patrol vehicle and the work truck for public works. And there would maybe not necessarily be enough for the riding mower, but things that Measure O money was voted on, such as the body cameras, the senior lunches, the senior van, that money is there. And that's one of the reasons we as a council tabled that from that recommendation last month to bring it here tonight. And I would bet that that's why most, if not all of you are here in the audience. So, like many of the people up here that ate crow on the sales tax, I'm not a fan of tax. I can tell you that everyone in our family that was of voting age voted for Measure O, because a sign of a community is how they treat their children and their elders. And, you know, we got the measure passed through the voting for the school. That's a whole different subject that's outside the purview of this council. But the Measure O money that goes toward the senior services, the library, and our police and fire emergency services, that is within our purview on this council. And I, for one, was not voted into this office to neglect that duty. So I'd like to ask the council to have some discussion on those items here as we have them all listed. Again, can't fund everything on here. My first selections would be the senior services, such as senior lunch, the fitness classes, the salaries for the van, the fuel and maintenance, the overhead for Parks and Rec to administer those. One I think is really important is the body cameras. We're, I believe, 3 years into a 5-year contract with Axon for the body cameras. This would be number 4. So the body cameras are important. We have a really great police department here, as we all know. That's why our community is a lot safer and doesn't have the issues that some other places in Siskiyou County have had the last few years. But the thing about the body cameras is that keeps everybody honest and accountable, our officers and the public they interact with. So I, for one, am individually a strong proponent that we continue to support those that we have on contract. The rope rescue equipment for the fire department, I think, is a no-brainer. We all know what we've gone through with our fire here, and it's a meager ask of $10,000 to give them the equipment they need to continue doing a fine job. When I look through the numbers here in a spreadsheet, there isn't enough to fund both a police patrol vehicle or a work truck for public works. Regardless of which way the council goes on that, I would suggest that we go after submission to the Roseburg Settlement Fund for the opposite, whichever one doesn't get approved. And there's a few other things in here, such as body work for the senior van and riding mower for Parks and Rec. In my mind, individually, I don't think those are as important as the senior lunch program, the fitness classes, or the senior van. But that's for this council to decide as a whole. And so, to be open and honest, I did give this to the council members before the start of the meeting to review. This is an itemized spreadsheet. I do have a copy here in case anybody would like to see it. These numbers all came directly from the agenda packet that is publicly posted on the City of Weed website. And I am grateful for every one of you who came forward tonight to be here in person, because I think this is important that this is addressed. And with that, I'll leave it to other council members for any discussion or comments.
Is somebody from Park and Rec here? Okay. I'm okay with the senior van because I think that was part of our original package. The coffee and conversation and fitness classes, is any of that paid for based upon, I know, not that I utilize it, as you can tell.
Talking to Mike, you got to talk into Mike.
Is any of the funds for coffee and conversations paid for from senior programs provided by health carriers? I mean, I know my plan in particular pays for plans, pays for my participation if I manage to ever get there.
I know what he's asking. Okay. Okay. He's not asking about membership. No. So you're asking if coffee and donuts, and what was the other one? Oh, and
And the fitness classes, are they paid for through senior services on your health insurance
some
plans?
of them are. Some of the fitness classes. Coffee and donuts, no. That's just a bunch of old guys. I'm sorry, more mature men. Seasoned.
Careful on that term, old guys, by the way,
They'd
anyway.
like to come and visit. Some of it is, but not all.
So how many people participate in coffee and conversations?
Nancy Miller, what else do I have to say? Okay. Director of Parks and Rec, how about that? Actually, I would request that we take the coffee and conversation out of the mix because they stopped coming a couple months ago, so let's just take it off of what we requested. It was after that I submitted this. Oh, and then the other question you were asking about is the program services, the fitness classes.
Fitness classes
So some
and membership to the gym.
some individuals who belong to the gym do get their membership fees. They're not covering the fees, they're reimbursing us a small amount of what the monthly fee would be if they show up. So every time they come, we get $2, up to $20 for the month.
A month. Not much.
Which is,
And how
maybe
many-
2/3 of what the membership actually costs if you were paying for it.
And I have the same question, how many participants are we getting?
In the fitness classes, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Last year, this is a duplicative count, but almost 2,000 participants. Over the course of the year, we had, let's see how many classes.
Just 1 year, Nancy?
Yeah.
Wow, I mean, that's really good.
That is pretty good.
We offered about 170 classes.
That's per year also, right?
Yeah.
So how many classes do you do per week? Do you know that just offhand?
Let's see, 5.
Or does it depend on what?
7 to 8 classes. Wait, no, that's 7. Probably about closer to 10. 10 a week.
Okay. And is it all times of different days? Is it like it was when I was on the board there, the same?
Yeah, mostly in the morning, a few in the evening. It's about maybe 60-40 split, most in the morning.
Okay.
Most of our members are seniors,
Well, that's
so they don't have to worry about work.
Yeah, no, that's a big one. That's pretty impressive, though. That's really built up from when I was there, so I give you a hurrah on that one. Didn't know that.
All right, do we have any other comments or questions from council before we go to public comment?
No.
I guess my question is do we have to allocate over 2 years or no? Meaning, can we
No, this
allocate
is
1 year in
allocated
whole?
26, 27, or is it just 26?
26.
This is one
27.
fiscal year.
That's how it's normally has been.
Yeah.
It's 1 year?
Yep.
One.
It would be this fiscal year.
Yeah, July 1st to June 30th. All right, well, if there's no other comments or questions from council.
I do, sorry, I I know a lot of these programs, they need it, and I would never not give anybody anything that they didn't need. There's a few that are iffy on it, that it might have to wait, but overall, I think it's more than fair, but just keep in mind, if when this goes out, it's gonna depend on next year's budget. When you're back again on this, will there be funds like this available? I'm just being honest with you. And so, and now I'm just throwing this out, or do we keep that aside if it's possible for future use for things you're asking? That I'm not real sure on, so I'm just letting you guys know that this may not be as big. I'm hoping that everything will make that click and that turnaround, but I'm being totally honest with you. This may not be there next year as much. I'm not saying there will never not be anything, but you might not be looking at 244,000 in here.
Again, it goes back to sales tax. Measure O is part of the sales tax, that quarter penny tax. So we as a community need to promote weed to encourage people to come and spend their money here so that we can generate these revenues.
I don't want to not give what is going here. Maybe not every single thing, but majority of this, I agree with it 100%. That was the one thing I did vote for. So that's just mine.
I have a couple questions. In Parks and Rec, I know that it's open to the public, specifically the gym. Has there been any talks about updating the gym so that Parks and Rec can pull additional funds so that the city is not doling out as much in Measure O funds?
What do you mean by updating the gym?
Well,
The equipment? Or?
Not to get too much into my personal life, but I wanted to participate in Parks and Rec as part of the gym. And what I ended up coming into is to put my family in the Parks and Rec gym with not as much updated equipment, specifically, at least updated treadmills where you could listen to music or watch TV while you're working out, because I know everyone loves to work out with nothing going on. It was cheaper for me to go over to a private business establishment than to use the smaller gym that was offered by Parks and Rec. And I was frustrated by that because I wanted to support Parks and Rec. But in order to accommodate my family, I had to move them to a private resourced gym. And so I'm just curious if these are some of the discussions going on in Parks and Rec, because obviously I would have given my full dollar amount to the gym every month for a family of 6. And I can't do that because the equipment there is not updated. And as a matter of fact, the fee is more than what I would pay for a private gym. So I'm happy to fund Parks and Rec, but I'd also like to know if in the future, in asking for Measure O money, if there can be some outlook or some future look into not only increasing the services by regular families who live in Weed, but also creating some additional revenue, because I love giving this money out, but I'd also like to see it grow, not simply survive, I guess is what I'm saying.
So we did look at fees last year, and we did increase them some in terms of replacing the, but I will say, I'm not sure where you joined, because when we looked at Mount Shasta and the Y,
It's about 3 blocks away from you.
I'm not sure what that was, maybe it's, anyway, whatever. We were the lowest, even after we increased the fees. We still had the lowest membership fees. One reason that we can't buy as much equipment as we would like is because we do still accept the insurance programs for seniors. Nobody else that I know of in the county does that. It's a pretty low reimbursement, but the board feels like that's important for our senior community to offer that.
I 100% agree, but I can tell you that if Parks and Rec came and asked me for Measure O funds, to be able to update their gym, which I think is extremely important to the senior population, it would be something that I would enthusiastically support. So I guess what I'm saying is, I appreciate all you do. I appreciate all you do. But I would really like, with Measure O funds, if we could see some things outside of the box, maybe that haven't been asked for in the past. Because I think it's time to advance, not just stay stagnant. Chief, could you tell me a little bit about the patrol vehicle situation to give us more insight? And I would like to ask Public Works the same thing.
Well, I can't say we're any worse off than Public Works. I see their vehicles. Currently, historically, we've run 2 admin vehicles. Currently, we're running 1. That vehicle's a 2014. It does not get used as much as it should, but that's by choice. We're trying to save that in both gas and mileage on that vehicle. I'm running 3 vehicles that are, 2 are 2017s and one's a 2013. The 2017s, I know one of them's pushing 200,000 miles. One of those has been rebuilt significantly due to a slow speed collision with a deer here in town. Did a tremendous amount of damage even though the officer wasn't going very fast. We have one that's 2017 that I didn't speak of that's currently going to be out of service probably indefinitely due to incident, critical incident. We have 2 Explorers that are 2021s. One's a former K9 vehicle, so it has special equipment in it. We're working on trying to make that back into a full patrol vehicle. It is usable though and drivable. We have a 2025 Explorer and we have a 2025 F-150. So ideally you would have a unit for every officer. You would also have an unmarked that officers can use for either investigations or travel. And then I typically drive an unmarked when I'm doing my admin duties. So I do have an assigned admin rig that I don't take home, which is not common for other agencies. Other agencies take, even their officers take the vehicles home. So that's the situation we're in. We don't have take-home vehicles for our officers. I do allow one sergeant to do so, but he lives here in town and only 2 blocks away. So that's why he's allowed to do that. But that's the situation with our vehicles.
Okay, and just so that I understand, on the take-home vehicles for law enforcement, one would be to make it on par with other jurisdictions. So in other words,
no, that would not give us take-home vehicles, having another vehicle. That's not the purpose of that. It's to replace an aging fleet. If you go into our community service officer fleet, one is a complete rebuild. It was taken out of patrol because of it was in a pursuit at Southweed at one point and hit something and was damaged the frame, so we didn't want to put that back in service, so we made it a community service officer vehicle. The other one's a 2003 Ford Explorer Expedition. That vehicle, as well as our 1996 Jeep Cherokee that we still have and we use for snow operations, we cannot update the radio systems in there because the wiring won't allow for modern radio systems.
so they're not digital transmission, is
No,
that?
no.
Obviously, $60,000 won't buy a police patrol vehicle. Is that being supplemented by COPS money to outfit it, or do you plan on pulling equipment out of an older vehicle?
The plan was to supplement, so the base price for a current vehicle, if we go with a F-150 or an Explorer, is probably going to be around $53,000. Then with the equipment, it's going to put it upwards of $70,000.
So if you were afforded the $60,000 towards a patrol vehicle, do you have other funds available to you that would allow for outfitting of that vehicle?
We would be pulling from either excess COPS funds or asset forfeiture.
And then Public Works? Tell me about your dilapidated vehicle.
Where do you want to start?
It's got 3 tires.
The one vehicle that I am trying to get replaced is a late 90s pickup. That one, the engine has started knocking on it. We are currently still using it because we don't have any other vehicle to use. We do have a couple that are in the early 2000s, about 2001, 2003 range, that have very high mileage that they're really insufficient for what we do.
Are you saying we're demanding?
Huh?
Are you saying we're demanding?
No. They're just regular pickups and they don't really suffice of what we really need. We really need like the type of vehicles that we have been purchasing the past couple of years, which is a truck with a utility box on it, so that way we could go and carry tools, stuff like that. And with a lumber rack, so that way when we have pipe broken in, we got to transport pipe, we actually have a truck that we could use it for. A lot of our older vehicles, they're costing money, the city a lot of money just to maintain their current condition that they're in right now.
So the $71,000, is that fully outfitted truck ready to go?
So a lot of the stuff we could go ahead and transfer on over from truck to truck. The only thing that we can't transfer over is the decals. But the only other thing that we have is tools that would transfer on over to that from the old truck to the new truck and the light bar.
You sure you don't want an undercover truck?
I'm good.
Okay.
Painted orange.
That's the reason why mine's not marked. No, I'm just joking.
So Chief, give me the number again. You think it's $75,000 to fully outfit your patrol vehicle?
I would estimate 70 to 72.
70, okay.
That's what the radio. We do have a little bit of leftover COPS money. We are running our fleet short, but I think at this time, you are running Public Works even shorter, honestly, based on just the age and the wear and tear.
I've known you long enough, Chief, that I know that you're probably the most humble employee here. And I hear you and I appreciate that. If you were given, for instance, if this was the decision to give you $50,000, would you have $20,000 to make up?
I would have that, yes.
Sorry, that was all my questions.
Question, those trucks for, Chris, those trucks for you, are they 150s, 250s, 350s?
So what we've been looking at is the 250s, bare minimum, but they are gas powered. They're not diesel. The reason why is because we don't, with us just traveling in town, we just destroy the diesel motor. The gas ones give us the towing power that we need.
So these that you're looking at, the one for 71,000 plus, those are 250s then?
Correct.
What about a 350?
350, you're just
for that.
350, you're just looking at more money, and I'd rather get.
So you're going to use
the 250 would be suffice for us.
Okay.
I'll speak. I was listening to Daryl's comments, and I'm thinking, and I don't know if it's possible, was if we outfit PD, can we at least get a vehicle out of the mill fire funds to supplement? Because Public Works, it sounds like both are in dire need. Otherwise, he can have a job, but if he can't get his stuff there, it doesn't do him any good. Justin can't get, our chief can't get to a crime scene or whatever he needs a vehicle for. So we're kind of in a hard-pressed place here.
It's your budget. You can pull what you want. But just remember what our staff was warning you, that was actually that was actually meant for fixing the parts.
We understand that.
We have to vote on that?
Yeah. Is everybody kind of satisfied with,
Not taking funds out of the Roseburg fund, I'm not.
well, the only amendment I would make is to make the numbers work. And this is mine, and I have a tainted view, so you guys got to take that into consideration.
Noted.
Noted, say, the fitness program, if we take off 5,000 of that and push it towards, because that will make that system work at 244. So, because we have to, the library is in there as well, is that correct, or is the, okay.
The library is.
So that's 55.6?
Library, I believe library was already removed from that total.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, the library funding's been removed. Library's fund is
Yeah.
fully funded.
Oh, we still
We're not
have
dealing with the
244
library.
Yeah.
No.
Forgive me?
So, my question for Public Works, how far could you get with $42,000 to $43,000?
So unfortunately, we're looking at, I'm negative in the water fund, as we all know, and we're barely holding on with the sewer fund. I don't really have any other funds to draw off of, especially why that's going to be its main purpose is street maintenance, which would have to come out of general fund, water and sewer.
So, crunching the numbers here, fully funding senior lunch, taking 5,000 out of the fitness classes, taking that down to 11,000. Fully funding the senior van salaries, fuel, and maintenance. Funding the admin overhead for Parks and Rec. Body cameras, 50,000 to the police patrol vehicle. Leaves us with 42,163. So if we funded, in order to fully fund the rope rescue equipment and the Dodge work truck, would require pulling approximately $35,000 to $40,000 from general funds. Then we need
Without
somebody
Jill
that-
here, I can't specifically say how much we would have available. So that's my only concern, is not having the finance director to speak directly on finances is a concern for me. So I don't want to speak for her and say that we can do something that we can't, so.
That's fair.
So one of the things that we could do tonight is table the patrol vehicle and work truck till next month until the finance director can weigh in.
That's fair.
Fund the other programs so that we can move them forward with the budget on time. I mean, we've been running on a shoestring budget with the city as it is. I would rather keep the senior services intact without any, delay in service to buy us a month for
I will add
vehicles.
this. He will probably be able to go to a lot and find what he wants, where our lead time now has been increasing. I don't know why. I thought the chip shortage was over, but the lead times on patrol vehicles now are somewhere around 7 months. So there is that. Just keep that in mind. I'm sure he will be able to find a fleet vehicle in stock somewhere.
So it'd be pertinent for us to go ahead and fund the vehicle for Public Works and then come back to a general fund request next month for
We
PD.
could leave 44, 45 allocated to a vehicle.
The point I was trying to make
You get
was,
a 150
I
or a
don't
250.
I don't ask Jill to cut the check until that vehicle is delivered to the dealership. So
Can I get clarification? Is a senior van operative, what is the body repair? I know it's been in accidents. Is this a cosmetic thing or is this
It's a rear quarter panel.
it's cosmetic?
So what I would recommend, so the outside, it looks like cosmetic. We have looked at it. Because of where the damage is at, I would recommend for safety reasons, because it does transport people, to have it completely looked over, including the wheelchair lift, just to make sure that it is safe to operate, to tell you the truth.
And do we have bids from particular vendors? So an $8,000 is just a guess?
So we did receive a quote, I want to say about almost 2 years ago from Groppe. We did receive a quote. I don't have that quote in front of me. I couldn't tell you exactly what it is.
So how long have we been operating that van with the current damage?
Since 2020.
2 years.
Yeah, since it's been a while.
25?
2024, I believe.
Has anyone contacted any of the local repair shops and asked them whether or not they're willing to donate services?
So as far as donation, no. The biggest problem is that there's very few. Adam Groppe's Collision is the only one that has a paint booth big enough that's local, that's willing to take on that work. We did call around to Long Hair Collision. We called to every body shop in Wairika and Mount Shasta, and Groppe was the only one that was willing to take a look at it.
Is he still operating, or he was?
Last time I heard he still is, but I don't know.
So they can't get the entire van into a painting booth, but it's a quarter panel.
Correct. So they still for
I understand if
good
I wanted to
paint job.
restore my brand new car to looking beautiful. But I'm talking about for it to be repaired, manageable, and look decent. Have we attempted to get a bid?
Yes, that was part of contacting everyone in Mount Shasta, Wairika, and Groppe. The whole entire vehicle does have to fit into a paint booth for it to be done correctly.
I would also tell you that I believe it's Miller Auto in Reading, or what's the dealership in Mount Shasta? S.J. Denham will transport the vehicle to, if necessary, to Reading.
That's correct, but we were trying to keep it local.
I understand, but they don't have a paint booth, and if Gary, I don't know if Gary is actually still in operation or not. We could certainly make inquiry into that, but if that doesn't work, I know Miller's and S.J. Denham have a booth large enough. But I will tell you that my son just had a front quarter panel done on his after having a conversation with a deer, and that was $9,000. And I didn't see, it's surprising what things are running right now.
It's surprising how expensive it gets when insurance is paying the bill.
Oh, yeah, we're paying always a little bit more, but that's just part of the game over the years.
All right, I don't see any choice but to fund senior lunch. The fitness classes are necessary. I'm concerned about the senior van situation and why. Has the senior van been officially transferred to Parks and Rec, or is it a city?
And that is still another $10,000 deductible if it were to be fixed, so that's the deductible on the van.
Okay, and then at some point, something happened with the fuel with the senior van. Did it?
I believe at one point, if memory serves me correctly, Measure O, I don't remember the time if you were still seated there, was instead of the Parks and Rec filling up on the city account at the local gas station, they were just allotted a dollar amount to cover fuel.
Okay.
That was
Correct.
before.
No, that was same with the maintenance. It's no longer going to the city yard to be maintained. They're handling that.
Now, this is our only vehicle that transports senior, correct?
That is correct. So actually, I think the original agreement was for salaries, fuel, and maintenance. I don't remember repair, but I would suspect repair as well. But if we do that,
So I have a question for Parks and Rec. Funding the fitness classes at $11,000 versus $16,000, How is that going to have an impact on the program? Will you be able to continue at the current rate?
We may have to cut back on some classes. Can I suggest something different?
Of course.
So I put in $2,500. It was a new request for my time, administrative oversight. I would rather see that go to programs. And then if we cut out coffee and conversation, that's close to 1,000. We'd only have to reduce programs by 2 instead of 5,000.
So it'd be,
Does that make sense?
That would be 15,000 ask on that instead of 16.
Yeah. I think we could manage that.
So what, for your overhead on that, Nancy, you're talking about, what exactly did all that in there? What does that 2,500 cover? And you're willing to take a loss on that?
It's new. I mean, I hadn't put into that before. But my board was like, you're spending time, my administrative support person is spending time to manage this.
So you basically have 2 in there, right? You have one so it's basically $5,000 for some service.
Yes. So payroll, bills, hiring, recruitment, that kind of stuff.
How many do you have in the office now? Just one, like it was before, it hasn't changed?
Yeah. Yes.
Do we have a person from Family Resource here?
What? Okay.
Haha, your turn for cross-examination. All right, so I'm
I'm used to
seeing,
it, I'm good. So,
I'm seeing that you serve 100 meals per week times,
44, right?
okay.
New shirt?
It worked last night in Dunsmuir for the, they tried to put a pot shop with a smoking lounge in our building with the resource center and said that we didn't serve children. Yeah, that didn't, we got it unanimously voted down, so.
Did it really?
Yeah, the whole community showed up. It was awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
You were mentioned at Lowell,
So
not you specifically.
I do
but the
have more than
program.
one of these shirts, so I'm not wearing the exact same outfit as last night.
You got to learn to change clothes, Steve.
Yeah, but I'm like a football player, right? I got to keep the jinx going. Or not.
All right, so
Sorry.
talk to me. If you run 52 weeks out of the year?
No, 44 about, with because holidays, we don't serve on Mondays. In the 2 weeks during Christmas break, we give our whole staff off the week of Christmas and up to the New Year's every year, so they can spend time with their families.
Okay, so 44 weeks times 100 meals, it's 4,400 meals you're serving to the seniors, and you want $12 a meal?
Yeah, because we're using donation money to offset the cost. The actual purveyors want $15 a meal.
Okay.
And we were actually suggested to ask the city for more money by the Measure O committee, even though they said don't fund, I don't know how that works, like don't fund the senior lunch, but ask them for more money. I'm not sure how that worked.
Okay,
But
so if,
we're a nonprofit and we're very, we're used to doing a lot with a little. I'll just put it that way.
okay, so of the extra $22,000, even if we were to fund the full $15 a meal, talk to me about that. Where's it going?
No, you're funding $12 a meal. We're covering the,
I know, but by my math, I did 4,400 meals times 15, and I'm coming up with $66,000. So my question is where's the, talk
because,
to me about the rest of it.
okay, so supplies, so
Okay.
plates, napkins,
Cups.
yeah, cups, forks, knives, coffee, tea, milk, napkins. I mean, there's a lot of.
Do you pay the
chafer dishes, sternos?
Okay.
I mean, there's a whole lot that goes, trash bags.
Do you pay the cooks that are there?
No.
They're doing that?
Well, the
volunteer.
reason we can also reduce the cost is because we have so many volunteers. They're amazing volunteers. They're there every single Monday making this program happen. Without them, I mean, the cost would be at least double.
Right. And so whoever's doing the cooking though, they're doing it for like volunteer.
At a reduced rate.
At a reduced
We go to their business and pick it up and bring it over to the center. And then we have our volunteers help with the paid staff, which is Richard, who's a.
No, it's a great thing. So I guess I'm asking now though, what is the reduced rate for the person who's preparing the meals? Isn't that part of the cost of the 88?
Yeah, but we're not asking you to cover the full.
No,
full
no, no,
cost.
I'm just trying to get numbers is all, so I can see it, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm for the 100% through the seniors, because I'm kind of happy. So.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm not understanding the question.
Well,
Sorry.
Do you pay the person that cooks in that kitchen?
They're coming out of restaurants. They don't cook. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking. So it's all prepared before they get there?
Yes.
And then the restaurant that you get it from, they're at the reduced rate?
Yes, because they see the value in the program.
I got it.
Our working relationship over the years has made them understand this is a community service that benefits.
I got it. I'm just, so what is the reduced rate? Like if you're gonna go, I don't know, whoever.
Well, right now, it's $12 right now.
Okay, and that's what.
And then we use our donation money to pay for any extra fees that go into the program. There's rent that's built into that, obviously, but we bring the ice cream truck as a special treat a couple times a year. We're buying, I mean, there's other services and programs we provide. We bring in mental health services. We run community groups based on the participants that come. We have something that we started last year. It's a community circle, which is open to everybody, and it's blossom. I mean, some of these people that are here come to those community circles. It's a really beautiful program, but we provide it. We work with public health. They come in and do health checks. They do wellness. They do vaccination clinics. We bring in high cap for Medicare services. They save seniors thousands of dollars on their prescription drug plans every year during open enrollment, which is October.
No. Steve, you don't have to sell me on it.
Okay.
I got it. I know what you're saying, and you do a lot. I'm just trying to figure the cost. If they're coming up with 60,000 or something, I'm just asking.
I understand that. Let me add to what he's not saying is that prior to lunch, we have exercise.
Yep.
I don't know how many we're getting, 15 to 20,
More
somewhere
than
around
that, probably like closer to 30 or 20 or for exercise.
Exercise class, usually around 15 to 20 people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bingo.
And so we have to have supervision there for those folks. And then after we have lunch, we also have bingo, and that goes for another 2 hours. So actually, using a paid employee, we're utilizing maybe 6. That's not including you if you show up.
Exactly, yeah. I do a lot of the picking up of the food.
I donate my time and everybody else donates.
Yeah, because we all believe in the program, so, yeah.
And this.
Sorry, I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Pretty close.
Okay.
Not all the way though, but.
And this program,
I'm just looking at
Stephen,
numbers.
is mainly just for the senior citizen in our community, am I correct?
100%, and we work with the local high school. Students come down and help serve the food, and they eat with the seniors and socialize with them. We run a group called Friday Night Live at the high school. And one of the things they wanted to do was mental health services for seniors, and I was like, great, I got a captive audience for you, 100 seniors every Monday. So Kelsey Oaks at the high school and I work together and provide that service. We've actually modeled that now in Dunsmuir. We have a South County Rotary grant in Dunsmuir. We started a senior lunch program down there as well. Same thing with the high school and the middle school students coming. And I know that doesn't pertain to weed, sorry to get off track, but the whole county's looking at what we do in weed, I guess is my point.
Yes.
This program that we do in weed is a model for the whole North State. I would say this is probably the #1 senior lunch program in the whole North State. I work with PSA2 out of Reading and Wairika, and they agree wholeheartedly. Like they can't believe how many people we serve on a weekly basis. Madrone has a program in Wairika, which is our largest community, right, in Siskiyou County. They get 20 seniors weekly.
We're doing 100 here in Wheat.
And, I mean, you're doing a great
Don't tell them
job.
I said that, though.
I think that's important that even with businesses, it's part of giving back to the community.
Yeah.
Because I think you are the bridge or the pathway of connecting. Because a lot of the businesses, we don't have time to go out and really pay our part or do our part. So with this program, it actually helps connecting and as a business, giving it back to the community with a discount rate. So
You could interview the You could interview the seniors and the businesses. A lot of their business gets repeat business because they do cater senior lunch. The seniors regularly ask me who served the food this week, and they'll go to El Saguan Taco Truck, or they'll come downtown to whatever the restaurant is that made that. And we all know Keith Cool, right? So he understands the value in our program. We try to keep it all in Weed, but I can't deny Mount Shasta Supermarket, they make a great meal. We just had Tri-Tip last Monday, so.
Of which I believe he's expanding his grocery
Yes.
store here soon,
Yes.
so that'll be exciting.
We did talk about that.
Keith is a good guy. He's been
So
heart and soul for that community.
I'm concerned about making some major decisions without Jill here, who knows the bread and butter in and out. So I'm concerned about expending all of the money. I can tell the council where I sit is give $80,000 over to senior lunch, $15,000 for fitness, $30,000 for the senior van, get the police department the body cameras, which is a liability reducer. Tell the chief that he's going to have his $50,000 so he can go do whatever it is that he can do to be able to go get his vehicle. Hold on the rest, which is about $60,000, and work with Jill in making sure that we can meet the rest of this and how the heck we divide it.
Do we have any other public comment?
Well, I think, I'm James Langford, and I think you, from what you've been saying, the library is automatically funded, right?
Yes.
Yeah, library's already been funded.
Because you haven't mentioned it in several lists of things. So the library is funded.
Yes, the library has been funded. The remaining $244,112 that we're discussing here is after the library funding.
Okay, that was my.
You're taken care of.
I needed to hear that, because, Benjamin Franklin started the first library in this nation.
Sure did.
And you need libraries, newspapers, because you don't know what's going on. I mean, you used to be able to see who was born, who died, etc. You can't do that anymore. Yeah, who scored the touchdown at Lee High School?
I'm happy to see that you guys are going to do the right thing, because you want this other 1.5 vote. These are the people that are going to vote for that by doing the right thing. The senior van. When we passed Measure O, and it was for seniors, emergency services, and the library, that van was the first thing we bought. And I sat on the County Transportation Commission for 6 years, and not only apparently are we the envy of the county for our senior lunches, but we are the envy of the county with that senior van, because nobody else has it, and everybody's conversation is, how do we get our seniors, because every town has a population of it, how do we get our seniors where they need to go? And I just would say, we'll buy a van. But, so that was one of the first things we did, and to this day, I say it's the smartest thing we ever did for the seniors, is having that van.
Thank you.
Sorry, just to back what she says, 20%, about 20% of the whole group that comes every Monday rides on that van.
And they also use that van, they bring them to our resource center in Weed for other programs, including community circle, food distributions, and other things that we do. So it is very valuable.
How did the van get that big dent in? Was it the driver's fault,
I think
or was
somebody
it?
just backed into it or something.
That's what I'm wondering.
I didn't hear what you said.
What I said? I wanted to know how the van, what happened to the van? Was it an employee error, or was
Yes. A driver backed into the clinic.
it? Okay, so it is, okay, I just wondered.
Ready?
Hi.
My name is Jean Warwick, and I'm speaking for the Senior Lunch Program. It is really a wonderful program. If you were to visit and take a look in, I think when it first started, not many people came. It was new. But over the years, it has really blossomed. And the thing is, number one, it's reasonable for people. There are a lot of people that live in Weed that are on a limited budget, and it's so reasonable. The other thing is, it creates so much camaraderie between people that might not have known each other before. And you just get to meet people, and when you see them on the street afterwards, you know them, and you can say hello. And of course, you know that food will bring people in, and from that, it creates more friendships. So I think it's wonderful. The other thing I'm asking about, I don't know if this is possible, but in your agenda items, when you see a bunch of people, older people, that might be here for a specific reason, is it possible to change the order of the agenda items? Because the thing is, there's a lot of people that have left because this didn't come up until 2.5 hours into the meeting. So I don't know the answer. It might be up for discussion. But anyway, those are my comments.
I'm good with that.
And if any of you have never been to senior lunches, it will reminisce of 6th grade cafeteria, because that's exactly what it reminds me of.
No spit wads, though.
It's so great.
All right, do we have any other any other public comment?
I just want to add one quick aside, is that I'm sure that you guys do a wonderful job, and I'm quite sure that quite often you're sitting here by yourselves with very few people in the community giving you any feedback. I'd like to add that the Senior Citizens Lunch is a great venue that our city administrator had come and given information that the public needs to know about, and he's got a much larger audience than he could find anywhere else in the area. So.
I can't believe they were quiet for Dustin for a whole 45 minutes, too. That was amazing. Never seen that before.
You didn't mention the 3 hours, but it was
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Patricia Carreras. I want to say I am so impressed by the commitment of this body to this program for the seniors who are in our country often the most vulnerable position, the most vulnerable population here. So to consider programs like this to keep them healthy, to keep them active, to keep them happy, and to keep them socializing is a truly amazing thing. So I just want to commend you for what you're doing, all of you, because it provides so much more than just amazing nutrition. And it has an amazing person, Steve, helping to run it, helping to make sure that we have everything we need. And I want to say, the city managers come by, Ken's there often, and these folks come by because they want to know our concerns too. And I thank you for that, because it's really important to have our voices heard, especially as you mentioned, Ken, state, national funding is being cut all over the place. Prices are going up, seniors are feeling, the pinch, and now we have talk about Social Security having big cuts in 6 years. And so there's a lot of fear, but knowing there's something where there are people who care and are taking care of us is just a beautiful thing. And to me, that's what community is all about. And in full disclosure, I do go to senior lunch. I do donate and contribute. I'm also from Mount Shasta, but I love what you do here. And I have so many friends here that I've made through this senior lunch. So I'm very grateful. Thank you.
All right, do we have any more public comment?
One more young lady.
You mentioned some issues with the setup of Metro or something.
So I had a member of the Metro Committee reach out to me last week and asked to meet, and he had expressed to me that he felt that they were strong-armed to putting the money toward downtown cleanup instead of the money toward the other programs. I wasn't at the Metro Committee, so I can't speak to that from firsthand knowledge. I was very disappointed to hear about that, and I've asked for further investigation with city staff in regards to that. Like I said earlier, Measure O was voted on a 2/3 majority for the programs as listed, and that included the library, the senior lunches, the senior van, and public safety. And so my personal opinion is that, and I believe the council agreed to a degree since we tabled it from last month, is that we have other funds to look at for downtown cleanup. And I believe personally that it is wrong and goes against the spirit of the Measure O to take that money for downtown cleanup away from senior center, senior services and public safety. And so that's why we're here tonight.
I just wanted to ask about, re-ask about maybe looking into clarifying the Measure O process a little more and in terms of procedure.
So the Measure O process, so this council dictates where that money goes within the confines of the tax being approved, which is within the services aforementioned. The Measure O committee was put together by this council so that we would have independent citizens on a committee to review the requests that come in and make a recommendation to the council. And so Measure O committee met, there was some discussions, there were some presentations, and they made the recommendation that they made. But at the end of the day, this council as a governing body will vote on where that money is allocated. And the Measure O is more of an oversight committee so that the citizens can be involved in looking at those recommendations and what is really needed for those areas.
I would, any more comment? I would like to talk about actually the allocations. There's a lot here. We've agreed that senior lunch is important. We've agreed that the senior van is important.
Ken, sorry, could you speak in your microphone?
I don't know why it's not picking up my voice. Everywhere I go, it picks up something. We've agreed up here that senior lunch is important. We agreed that senior van is important. And all that goes with that. I think as a body, if we just, and if we want to check with Jill at a later point on what else is available, we can do that. But we can support the senior lunch, we can support the senior van, and then we can have conversations with our finance director on how to spend another $100,000. Because there's no ability that on this list that we can accommodate everybody no matter what. Even the senior lunch, although Steve makes light of it, we get a lot of volunteers. There are 7 that faithfully show up, and without those volunteers, that program wouldn't fly. Because I certainly can't move fast enough anymore. So I believe what we just need to, we're digging in at about, probably about $6,000, not a lot, but $6,000 a year is what we dig into our own pockets through maybe donations?
Yeah, close to 10.
Close to 10? Okay. So we are, whatever money we bring in, we also apply back to the program. We don't ask Richard to donate because he's an employee, but anytime he wants to give us his check, we'll accept it, but anyway. So I think everybody is giving up a little bit, and then we just need to figure out the balances on what we can do for our police department and our public works. And I'm sorry to say that Brian has been sticking with us saying nothing, but he needed ropes, right? And he has been quiet the whole time. So I'm thinking we just actually look at senior services and then look to our finance director to see where else we can apply those funds. That makes it a simpler process instead of trying to whittle things down like it's, we need Vanna White.
So I will respectfully disagree with that.
Okay.
We have $244,000 in Measure O funds that is set aside for these services. If we take out the $8,000 body repair, since we don't know what the actual cost is, we take out the administrative overhead from Parks and Rec, we take out the riding mower, and we take out the police patrol vehicle, we can fully fund the rest of this list with a few thousand left over to spare.
And then we can
And
wait
then
on the patrol vehicle.
The discussion is going to be on how we fund the patrol vehicle from general fund money, if that's an option. But that way, when we have a water main break like we had last week, Public Works isn't driving a motor, with a knocking motor or hauling pipes and snow plows to get there. And the senior services do not have interruption. We have our body camera contract, which we are still obligated to continue with for 2 years funded. And we have the fire rescue equipment we need for the fire department request for them to do their job.
And that gets us there?
Yes, I'd love to have a riding mower. Yes, I'd love to be able to fix the dents in the van. And I wish we could fund both vehicles, but based on what we've heard from staff, what we have available in the budget, and what we've heard from our constituents, the reason that every one of us is up here, that meets the need with the budget as approved by the voters.
I agree with the description of what our voters put us up here for, but what our voters also put us up for is careful review that money is being divvied, allocated, and spent in the appropriate ways. And my concern is I'm perfectly happy giving $80,000 for senior lunch. That's taking into account $15 for every lunch for 100 people for 44 weeks, and that's still an additional $24,000 to $26,000 for coffee, cups, and plates for 2 years, and whatever else it goes to. So,
Did you count Richard? He's a paid employee. Sorry to interject.
well, I agree, but we also have to remember that with senior lunch, it is a conjoint measure with other jurisdictions that fund certain portions. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't end up giving the extra $8,600, but I would like to hear from our finance director. If we're talking about, and we literally are pulling pieces together as far as budget is concerned, I'd like to hear from a finance director, obviously already granting a significant portion of what the senior lunch is requesting.
I think we've got some information here from our administrator.
I just want to clarify that we get no additional funding from any organization. It's strictly Measure O and donations. That funds 100% of the program.
You don't apply for any grants?
We apply for grants, but we haven't received any to help offset the cost. I'm always applying for grants. Unfortunately, in the last year and a half, We've lost a couple of large grants that Ken is aware about, but the whole national, without going into anything political, grants are harder and harder to come by. And I'm sure the city manager can talk about that as well. But the Senior O program, or sorry, the Senior Lunch Measure O program in Weed is 100% Measure O tax and donations to our resource center.
Okay, so give me the divide if we were paying $15 a meal. I know you get it offset. I get $66,000, 100% funding the food going into our seniors' meal. So, and then obviously we have to pay you, who's doing a wonderful job,
And Richard,
and Richard. And what is that, what number is that to pay administrative fees?
well, Richard is an admin, he's an employee cost. My admin fee, I had to go back and look, but it's $5,000, I think, for the whole year.
You pay yourself too little.
Well, I mean, we're a nonprofit. We have to. We can't make programs work in our county if we're not willing to stretch ourselves. I mean, Ken always tells me to go home. He calls me up in the evening and says, go home. My mom says the same thing. My wife says the same thing, but,
So I'm at 71 with yours.
and then Richard, we have to pay Richard also.
And
He puts in 10 hours a week?
just give me a rough number.
10 hours a week is what Richard puts in at $19, how many? $19.50 an hour. And then we also have to pay insurance. We have to pay rent.
All right.
We have to pay fuel
You
costs.
solved your case.
Okay.
I have to ask the questions.
No, I appreciate the due
Actually,
diligence.
I appreciate that you asking question or answer the questions as well, because number one, there's so much involved when we put on all these programs. This isn't the only rodeo that he's running. He's running 7 other communities. So it gets, I don't know how he doesn't unscramble his brain at night, but
I care, so.
He does.
He does a
take
good
care of
job.
it. Yeah. he
But I
does.
have to agree with Melissa that I was rendering too. Where's that extra?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a whole bunch.
That
I'm
isn't
sorry if I
there.
didn't.
Nothing now, I know.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get. Where is this, explain this to me.
Yeah, sorry,
So I
I'm
need
tired. I'm
numbers.
tired. It's been a long couple of nights with
I'm getting old.
Dunsmuir
I'm
and
not old enough to
Elreeds.
have senior dinners yet, but
Yeah.
definitely my brain is slowing down, so I need numbers.
Yeah, no, I can help build that out for you. if
No,
you-
I'm good now.
I still come up
That's
with
just where I wanted to see where it was at.
37 grand.
Thank you. I just wanted to help.
You did a good job, Steve, and your staff.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, I've got a motion on the table for the funding if someone is interested in a second.
Can we do these one by one?
So I'll restate my motion. So my motion is funding the senior lunch at the amount requested. Fitness classes, the amount
Excuse
requested.
me, Mayor, could you please read off the numbers so we have those, please?
Yes, so senior lunch, 88,600. The fitness classes at 16,000. Senior van salaries at 22,500. Senior van fuel at 5,300. Senior van maintenance at 2,000. Admin overhead at 5,031. Body cameras at 19,349 and 86 cents. The Dodge work truck for Public Works at 71,000, and the rope rescue equipment for the fire department at 10,000.
What about the police department? What about that? Were we gonna table that?
We can
Discussion was to look at general fund potential when Jill gets back, based on the input from Chief and from Director Davis on the
Right,
need.
okay.
What's it take to order a car,
No, are you okay
Chief?
with that? I just want to hear.
So you're asking if I'm okay with that? If I'm sitting in that chair, that's the decision to make right now. So
Okay.
that's the.
Thank you very much. What does it take to order a patrol car?
It's a special order, and I guess the lead time is taking,
But do we have to have a down payment or?
no. The
No,
check
okay.
is due on delivery, which
So we have 7 months to,
Sometimes longer.
that gives us
right?
some lead time and hopefully a
Yeah, one, right,
Prop
was like a
C or
year.
whatever we're going to call it.
Well, I appreciate your honesty, but you also could have said, no, I need it, and we'd have worked on it. Because it's all, everyone in here's
How much did that
Things
come
are
out to,
all worth it.
Sandy? Did you get a grand total?
You want me to get a grant?
$5.44? And I'm just kidding.
How much was the fuel again?
Senior van fuel was 5,300.
And admin was 5,300, you said?
$5,031.
Body camera?
$19,349.86.
And,
10,000 was fire, correct?
Yes.
239, 780, 86, and I'm writing it all down correctly.
what was it again?
$239,780.86.
So 4,000 and change under what is available.
But I thought we had dropped the coffee conversation / fitness to down to like 11,000.
I left it at 16,000 in my motion so that we can make sure we didn't reduce any of the classes for the fitness. Understanding that coffee and conversations is null and void.
All right.
I will take the liberty of, based upon the parameters for the patrol car, that we can probably forestall that a little bit. The rest of this gets primarily funded. I could second that motion as written or as spoken, I guess, from our mayor.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion with the council or any other public comment?
Nope.
All right.
I think we authorize the police department to order a dang car.
I would love to if we had the money in the budget. I made my motion between the two based on the input from staff. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Is this a 2/3 votes on this too?
No. 3-2.
You vote your conscience. And
I'll
then,
vote, I just think, if you're gonna spend that on that, which, and I understand what you're saying, no, like you just fund that police, you fund it. Because maybe next year you won't be able to fund it.
But what we have, even if we ordered it today, what Chief is saying is that
No,
it's
I-
going to be 7 months before it's even produced.
The chief can at least pay for some of his.
I agree with that, but until he has authorization to order the dang thing, then we wait a month, and then we wait a month, and then we wait a month, and it's just adding and ticking on time in order to be able to get the vehicle. That's my concern.
I would like to weigh in and ask for permission
Sure.
from council to get in and order the car. We're not spending it now, we can find it somewhere, at least request some permission.
So you're saying
Yes.
you want to put it in as part of the motion?
You don't need to authorize spending money now, you just need to authorize them to order.
well, I think first we need to get to the motion on the Measure O, unless somebody wants to make a friendly amendment.
I would ask a friendly amendment to, in addition, if we're going to pass this, we order the city manager or give direction that the chief can order a car.
Understanding that that would be $45,000 above what's available for funds.
Again, he has funds.
Right.
mean, there is-
Right, I don't disagree. I'm all for it.
So what I would seek from guidance from the finances, how much do I have left over in COPS
Yeah.
money? I mean, I don't have that number right now.
So I would like to move forward with the motion as voted on, and then come back next month with the finance director for the balance of the COPS money and the balance of the Measure O money.
Well, I think you should get it no matter what. That's what I'm worried about. It's gonna get lost in the shuffle somewhere in next month. And so if we're gonna do it, let's do it now
So to my voting public,
Not do it.
make sure when you shop local. Every time you get a drop of gas. I always make it back to weed to get my gas. The stuff of that.
So Mackenzie, I'm going to lean on your expertise here since we're a little discombobulated. We called a vote and ran a vote. What is our proper procedure here?
Right. I believe we already had 3 ayes
Yes, you had two ayes.
spoken orally, so your motion has passed. Your direction to return next month with the finance director's input towards funding the police vehicle does not require a motion, does not require anything like that. So I believe the direction's been given. We've had an uncompleted vote, but one that's already passed with a majority. So if we want to complete the vote, we will close this item.
All right, we'll ask for a completion of the vote.
Done deal.
I'm a no. And it's
Okay.
nothing to the seniors. I want you to know that I fully intend on funding you, but I do not agree with moving forward without a finance director to provide us direction. I think it would be derelict in my duties to not rely on the person who deals with our money every single day. And so I'm glad that you all were fully funded, but please know that that is the reason for my no vote.
Councilmember Mazzoni and Councilmember Pearson, I did not catch your votes. What were?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Motion carries.
Thank you.
You can't leave. You make them stay.
That was my fault. I moved the agenda
You
around.
guys have to stay. You can't go now.
Thank you. Go home, Steve. Thanks, Brendan.
Okay, on to item C.
Love your shirt.
Fired by motion, council will consider resolution number 32-2026, awarding the bid for fuel mitigation, mastication to Hard Rock Engineering in the amount of $39,100 and authorize the city manager to enter into contract pending legal review.
Yeah, so we're requesting this funding. It'll be fully funded through the CAL FIRE fuel mitigation grant that we received. This is the second set of bids that we put out. The first bids we already awarded and they're already working. That was for 250 acres total. This first one is for the mastication portion for 46 acres. And the next one will be for a total of 191 acres. So between the first 250 and this one, we're getting closer to our 500 acres of fuel mitigation throughout our community. So it's a pretty big deal. We do have more, and we have a couple right entry agreements that are coming through, which will provide us the opportunity to finally get some work done on other properties that would be a big benefit to community. But for this first one, yeah, we're requesting to give the bid to Hard Rock Engineering for $39,100.
All right, any discussion amongst council? Questions?
I'm wore out.
Chief, just a question. Is this a different area? Is that why we're authorizing?
Yeah, so the reason why we had to do multiple bids is because of how long it was taking for people to get us their right of entry agreements. We had enough for that first 250 acres that we wanted to get the project going. And after we got it going, we had the ability to reach out and get the rest of the right entries back for the next set, which is why we are coming back now.
Any other questions?
No.
Any public comment?
I'll make a motion for resolution number 32-2026, awarding the bid for fuel mitigation, mastication to Hard Rock Engineering in the amount of $39,100, and authorize city manager to enter into contract pending legal review.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item D, fire by motion. Council will consider resolution number 33-2026, awarding the bid for fuel mitigation hard work to America Reforesting in the amount of $124,670 and authorizing the city manager to enter into contract pending legal review.
So this went through the same bid process as for the mastication, but obviously this is for a different type of work. A lot of this is for hand thinning with boots on the ground, people, chainsaws, chippers, that kind of stuff in areas where we can't run equipment. Some of them are due to archaeological sites or stuff like that, where we've been approved to go in there with people but not machinery. And then other areas where machines aren't as clean, for instance, limbing trees that we don't want to cut down. It's a lot cleaner to do it with people. And then one adjustment on the agenda memo there, I had a spelling error, and under option 1, it should read Award America Reforesting the contract, not Premier Clearing. But other than that, yeah, it's 191 acres and $124,670 will be covered in full through the grant funds.
All right. Any questions from council on the manual stuff?
Did
Thank
there
gosh,
need
I
to
don't
be a
have to-
correction?
Right.
Excuse me, any correction to any of the verbiage here?
No, it was just the contractor. It should read for America Reforesting, not Premier Clearing.
Not, yeah, not in the resolution, just the agenda memo.
Just the agenda
Okay.
memo, yeah.
Council, I'll make a motion for resolution number 33-2026, awarding the bid for fuel mitigation handwork to America Reforesting in the amount of $124,670 and authorizing the city manager to enter into contract pending legal review.
Second.
Okay, before we vote, do we have any public comment?
I'm not sure if this relates to the topic at hand. I think it does, but are we keeping up with, pushing back the forest so we don't, stick in a tinderbox? I'm concerned if a fire breaks out, it'll just rush through the entirety of the mountain again. So,
Yeah, that's exactly what these bids are for. We approved 250 acres of work in and around the community weed right now. They've completed about 40 acres in the South Weed area at the end of Black Butte Drive. They're currently moving to the hillside behind Solano's hardware store, if you're familiar with that area. And also completed work near West Vista and then near one of our water tanks. And then in addition to that 250 acres, we're going to do this 46 and 191 of more fuel mitigation, which will reduce the impact of fires in the area.
you said there was some areas due to archaeology or something along those lines where you could bring people but not equipment. What sites would those be?
They're intermixed within some of our units. I don't have the maps on me right now, but that's from our reports that we got of where we can work and how we can work in there. So we're just adjusting to make sure we can get it done without disturbing anything like that.
Fair enough, that's all the questions I had.
And to add to that, all of this funding for the mastication was through grant awards. This is not coming out of city dollars. So our staff has brought in over $50 million in grant money in the last five plus years to the city of Wheat.
I will say I'm happy to hear about that at least.
So,
Good.
Let's do it. I like it.
Glad to see you.
all right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item E, administration. By motion, council will consider resolution number 34-2026, determining 219 Main Street, 247 Main Street, 259 Main Street, and 234 Clay Street exempt for the Surplus Land Act.
As per the mayor's request at the planning meeting last week, Mackenzie and I have been working on listing these as surplus anyway because we've had this discussion over the last couple of months. This is just simply execution of that task where I am requesting permission to start the process of getting the former Juarez properties up for surplus and following through with that process.
All right.
There's a lot of
Questions?
information that we included. I guess if you want me to read it, I can, but.
Verbatim, would you? 74 pages.
So and thank you for the three of you that remain for the rest of the meeting. Appreciate that. So for clarification, these are the 4 properties that we refer to as the Juarez properties. 2 of the 4 properties are the burn areas. The other 2 are still standing but heavily dilapidated. So in order for the city to sell those off to potential investors, to rehabilitate them and to bring them back into usable standard, it has to go through a surplus action through the state, required by state law. And so that's what this is this is an agenda item to formally make those surplus. The city, any city in California cannot just sell property without, going through this process.
Does that include the old mill areas? And if not, what are we going to do with those areas?
So the old mill area is actually private property, not owned by the city, and it's not on city land. It's on county land. There's some interesting history on that outside of this discussion.
I have a question.
Yeah, please come up to the podium.
My name is Renata Funk, resident of Montague. I serve on several boards in this county, the Modoc-Siskiyou Community Action Agency and the Siskiyou Housing Alliance. And in that capacity, I'm very intrigued about the resolution because you mentioned selling, and my understanding is that with that kind of an act, I'm drawing a blank now in terms of land, fill me in. It's a long day. I've been up since 4.
You're referring, I'm not sure.
Well, the act that you are trying to get an exemption from.
Surplus Land Act?
Thank you. Surplus Land Act. And my understanding is that the options to consider when you forego the affordable housing possibility that the governor would like you to consider, the options to consider are selling or leasing the land. And I'm wondering if you have given any thought to leasing the land. The Siskiyou Housing Alliance is trying to look at different models all over the state where there are land trusts that actually allow for curating parcels out to different entities that would bring in income, but also where the land trust would administer and possibly own the land or lease it. And is that at all a consideration that has entered into your deliberations? I have seen nothing but thoughtful and caring deliberations all evening, and I'm wondering, if any thought could be given to the future well-being of the city in terms of not putting the land in the hands of speculators for short-term gain, but rather allowing for slow investment that could be handled through an entity that manages a community land trust.
So my understanding, and Mackenzie will correct me if I'm incorrect here, my understanding is that this resolution here is to make it a surplus. This is not actually a sale or lease. This surplus has to be done and approved by resolution before a sale or lease could occur. Am I correct in my assessment there, Mackenzie?
That's correct. And no real property negotiations or discussions have transpired yet with planning for next steps. This is just the first step of many to open the door to those discussions. And I'm sure the council and the city would be happy to consider any proposals submitted.
Thank you.
So are you envisioning with these lots that are on here for housing? Because it's in a commercial part of town, downtown.
Well, it wouldn't be for housing. It could be, when we attended some meetings that you've had where you had listening sections, we became aware that the housing issue is intimately linked to the employment issue, and that there has been a major loss with the withdrawal of the Roseburg veneer mill and that kind of thing. So we're looking at involving the community, and we have done surveys. We have staffed tables at various events. You have seen us at the Juneteenth. We've been to the kids fair. We've done other events. We're doing outreach. We're trying to do advocacy, both for alternative home ownership models, but also the community land trust movement envisions that it could be run by business co-ops. It could, generate business. It's not just for housing.
This process, that's a policy decision, like our attorney said, will be down the road. We'll have to meet again to
Okay.
continue conversation.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make a point that, you seem to have a lot of caring and wisdom, and to look at solutions that are creative, out of the box, and that would involve long-term well-being of the community rather than some kind of, speculative short-term gains. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you do have interested parties, please connect them with our city manager so that when we are ready to go to the next step, we have that option available.
Thank you, Dr. Funk.
All right. Do we have any other public comment on the resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 34-2026, determining 219 Main Street, 247 Main Street, 259 Main Street, and 234 Clay Street exempt from the Surplus Land Act.
I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And as we have already discussed item F, we will now
Get the hell
move
out of that
on
one.
to staff reports. And we'll start with Chief Carter.
All right. We completed over 100 hours of training last month. Responded to a little over 50 calls, which is an increase of about 10 over last month. Our staffing for the month of July is made up of 2 full-time, 1 grant-funded, and 3 seasonal firefighters, and 3 volunteers. We were able to add 1 resident firefighter who started on Tuesday, as well as an EMS-only volunteer that started last Friday, and have 1 in the works to be starting in the resident program by the end of the month. Today, the city manager, public works director, and I were able to have our first meeting with PACE to discuss the architectural and engineering of fire station. And then tomorrow, 3 of our personnel are taking a CPR instructor class, which will give them the ability to teach CPR classes in-house. That is it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Since our finance director is absent tonight, do you have a report for finance?
Nothing to report at this time.
All right. Director Davis.
So as we all know, we had a water leak over the weekend. We had to replace 9 feet of pipe, and originally, every single time we went to go turn the water back on, another leak popped up. And everything, including brand new parts, were giving us fits that day. We are looking at replacing that section of pipe in the near future. We're waiting for Gazelle Tank to get back online because, as we know, that is getting remediated right now. So that way it only affect 2 houses instead of a whole entire neighborhood. So that's all I have.
So obviously, we're going to look for grants in the future if they're available. And I know in the past we've used CDBG grant money for some of the water infrastructure. Is it possible that we would be able to chase after a grant that would give us the pipe replacement as well as repaving where we replace? Or is it strictly going to be for the water pipe?
So when we go ahead and, when there is grants for water or sewer for infrastructure, they do not like to repave at all. That's the reason why Main Street didn't get repaved. We, Pace Engineering and myself pushed the state hard to have Main Street repaved, and they would not do it. They're only willing to do the cutouts. They'd rather see pipe go in the ground than pave.
Okay. I mean, I'd rather clean running water than a road if I had to choose between the two, but both would be nice, so. All right, Chief Mayberry.
For the month of June, 1,791 incidents, 682 calls for service, 29 cases, 8 arrests. We hosted a rabies clinic that I don't have the numbers, but just being there and seeing the number of people line out the door, that was pretty steady, even in the rain. I would call it a success. We are also hosting a free swim day for youth 16 and under, be Saturday, July 11th from 1 to 4 at the Weed Community Pool.
All right, thank you. City Clerk Tukey.
It is election time for November, so if you're interested in running for city council, you may pull papers starting Monday. They'll be available at my office during normal business hours, Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 4:30. And they'll be available until August 7th.
All right, thank you. All right, Inspector Britton.
I'd say this past month now, my schedule's picked up quite a bit. Our Crystal Geyser commercial project is winding down, and our new 7-Eleven truck stop is picking up quite regularly. We've had some issues there that's required more of my time. Hopefully we're getting past that with the super that's on the job site. I'm trying to get him to slow down a little bit. He's trying to press the schedule, and it's causing a lot of issues with subcontractors. So we're working with that to try to make it more accessible and time management. I've asked for a schedule now for 5 weeks, and I have yet to see, they're supposed to provide a job schedule. So I'm pushing for the job schedule to have one by next week that goes 30 days out, so I have an idea of what my time will be required out there. As far as the other things, we've had a lot of solar permits come through as of late, and that may have something to do with the scamming thing we were talking about, I'm not sure. When I talk to the property owners, I make sure that they understand what is happening, how the laws have changed to not in their favor so much before they go forward with these projects. A lot of roof permits, a lot of fence permits. We have 2 new houses under construction now. One will be for sale, and the other one will be a rental. And this particular contractor is in the process of purchasing 2 more of the Bulls properties to build 2 more houses. And he's looking at rentals for the most part. He'd like to do rentals. So I've just been staying busy with all those different projects and doing state paperwork.
Question?
Yes.
Curiosity's killing me here. Walk-up property. What is he actually doing, and how is the progress? And I see the little smirk over there.
It's kind of hard for me to tell you that because every time I drive up there, no one's there.
Well, I was up
I see
there
equipment,
picking up
but
food
nobody's
one
actually
morning,
there.
and the place was just alive with bulldozers.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they were just moving dirt for the fact of dirt's sake, but
Up at Walk-Ups or across from 7-Eleven? They were moving a lot of dirt across the street.
okay, we have grocery
Yeah.
outlet, and then we have kind of a vacant lot.
Yep.
And then we have the next one.
That's 7-Eleven. That's going to be the new truck stop.
Okay.
So they received permission from the property owner across the street to dump all the soil and dirt over there. I made it quite clear to them that that's okay with me, but it's not compacted, so they can't really build anything on that. And she's aware of that. So she just said, she wants fill. So it's kind of a shame, but they needed a place to dump it, so it kind of worked out for her. But that's what that was all about. They moved tons and tons of dirt.
Thanks.
Yeah, you bet.
Well, glad to see some progress between the houses and all the permits. All right, and our city attorney.
Nothing to report this evening. Thank you.
All right, and our city manager, Dr. Stambaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. They've already reported all the things that I was going to brag about. We're getting a lot of stuff done, including Mackenzie. I keep her busy.
We know from the bill.
Yeah. I know, I'll be glad not to sign it.
The bill rings after we get the 20 grand and every 20 after that, right? I'm just kidding.
Well, but we are getting stuff done and it's productive use. It's not, you're seeing results from the written ordinances. That's one of those that'll pay dividends later.
Okay.
All right, so that is our staff reports.
Want to adjourn to a closed session?
Do you have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
Motion to adjourn. to
I'll
closed
second
session.
that. All in favor?
Aye.
We are so adjourned to closed session.
Please tell me there's a pizza in that. We're not done yet.
Oh, I know it's going to be a while. Tell Mary, put some milk by my bed.